replies. Csaba Lukács, managing director of the independent weekly Magyar Hang, the Hungarian Voice, told me he was grumbling about losing paying subscribers on whom his paper depends. They supported independent journalism when it was under attack from Fidesz. Now his readers get their kicks watching Parliament all day instead, or flicking through the highlights of the day in the evening on Instagram or TikTok. To make matters worse, some of his journalists feel burnt out and have changed professions, he says. Some have even gone to work in communications for the new government. One Thursday morning, I went with him to pick up bundles of his newspaper from the Hungarian post office. It's still printed in Slovakia because in the Orbán era, all the big presses were Fidesz-owned, and they still are, though the Fidesz media empire starved.
This is CBC Winnipeg. Here are the lineup tones in advance of the CBC Winnipeg weekday morning show. This is CBC Winnipeg. Here are the lineup tones in advance of the CBC Winnipeg weekday morning show.
In the 1990s, the Hungarian parliament and the ministries around it were built on land near the Danube, where travelling circuses used to perform. Sometimes in these hectic days, it seems history has come full circle.
Nick Thorpe there. And that's all for this programme. Thank you for listening. I'm James Kamarasamy. The producer was Polly Hope. We'll be back next weekend with more stories of the real lives behind the global headlines. So do join us again then, here on the BBC World Service.
That was the BBC program.
Well, good Monday morning, Manitoba. I'm Marcy Marcusa. This is Information Radio. We are live downtown from our CBC studios in Winnipeg. You're on 89.3 FM, 990 AM on that app and on YouTube. Wherever you're joining us from, thank you, especially if you're in one of these flooded areas in the province that is struggling so much. And unfortunately, in those areas, including Brandon, we are still looking at rain. Right now, an active thunderstorm in Brandon ongoing. Also, light rain up into Dooley Lake. Right now in Winnipeg, mostly cloudy. It had been spitting and raining about an hour ago. Right now it's just clouded over for the moment, but we do have a really good chance of storms coming today across many parts of the province, and we don't need it after the flooding. Thanks for joining us. We've got all your emergency information to that end and more coming up on the show today. We're on air till 8:37. Corey Funk is back directing, Abby Adeyemi behind the controls, and Mr. Darren Marash on YouTube. If you're watching us stream, say hello. All right, Heather Wells has the very latest from our news center at 3 minutes to 6. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, Sioux Valley Dakota Nation in western Manitoba has declared a state of emergency due to rising floodwaters. Chief Jennifer Bone says the ground is already saturated in some flood-prone areas. Nearly 190 people in that community have been told to get ready in case of evacuation. However, a mandatory evacuation order has not yet been issued. So we'll hear the latest from there. And the Blue Bombers eked out a win last night in Hamilton, 14-13. A game that would see both teams lose their starting quarterbacks to injury. We're going to hear from the coach coming up in our next local news at 6:30.
All right. Thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
Well, I'll admit it. I'm a Bomber fan, but last night I was glued to the World Cup. Mexico is out. What a game that was against England. We'll hear about the latest. And, of course, over the weekend, I also watched Canada, also out, but went out looking like a class act on the pitch, waving to all the fans. So some great soccer over the weekend. More analysis coming up on sports. That is at 7:25. In the first hour of the show, sports reporter Greg Strong is going to run us through the World Cup and what is coming next. Also, with parts of Canada, including our province, hit with this extreme weather this month, there is a lot of talk about what potential solutions are. So we're going to go through those this morning as we look at what experts are saying across the country, given how quickly things are changing in our forecasts. And then a little bit later, we will have the mayor of Brandon on live to talk more about what things are looking like in that city this morning. Stay with us. Right now, World Report to the top of the clock.
On cue. I'm Ali Hassan, sitting in for Tom Power. Evanescence helped define rock music in the early 2000s, thanks in part to frontwoman Amy Lee's unforgettable voice. Amy will be here to look back on the music that changed her life and to talk about finding new creative spark with their brand new record.
Q, this morning at 10:30 in Newfoundland, and on CBC Listen, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Good morning. I'm Marcia Young. A decision by FIFA is rocking the World Cup. The tournament's governing body reversed a red card suspension for U.S. star Folarin Balogun. The U.S. plays Belgium in Seattle today. U.S. President Donald Trump made a phone call to FIFA's president and changed Balogun's fate. CBC's Katie Nicholson has been following the story for us from Washington. Katie, walk us through the controversy here.
Okay, so this is a huge shock across the soccer world. U.S. player Folarin Balogun's red card, that one-game suspension, just put on ice by FIFA ahead of today's big U.S.-Belgium match. Balogun is one of the U.S.'s top players. He was supposed to sit this knockout match out after a really nasty-looking tackle in last Wednesday's game. Basically, that ejected him. So multiple news outlets are reporting that the U.S. president called FIFA president Gianni Infantino about that call. It's the kind of tackle that often analysts have suggested sees players ejected from games in European leagues. Yesterday, FIFA, in an extraordinary decision, tossed the red card, the one-game suspension, out. Trump posted on social media an acknowledgement of that decision, saying thank you to FIFA for doing what was right and reversing a great injustice. And this reversal, just highly unusual, doesn't appear like a call like this to hold off on a suspension has happened within FIFA since the early 60s, and it's being met with outrage by parts of the soccer world.
So what exactly is the reaction?
The Royal Belgian Football Association has let its astonishment is the word they used be known. They have appealed the decision. And UEFA, Europe's soccer body, released a statement this morning calling the decision unprecedented, incomprehensible, and unjustifiable. Remember, calls like this, they're not just about fair play. They're also about player safety, right? They're trying to ward off unnecessary injury. And there are accusations, of course, of interference by the U.S. president here to get a top U.S. player back on the roster. Worth remembering the lengths to which Infantino has gone to curry favor with the U.S. president, even creating a peace prize for him. So the optics of favoring the last remaining host nation in the tournament being met with criticism in the wake of this decision.
Thank you, Katie.
You're welcome.
The CBC's Katie Nicholson in Washington. Prime Minister Mark Carney will choose Canada's next submarine fleet later today. He is in Halifax for the announcement. It is on the eve of the NATO summit in Turkey. The new subs will replace the Navy's aging fleet with 12 patrol vessels. The contract has an expected value of more than $100 billion over its entire lifespan. It is in an effort to meet NATO targets of spending 5% of GDP on defense by 2035. A wind-fueled wildfire in British Columbia's Fraser Canyon is growing. The Brunswick Creek fire has ballooned 12-fold in size in the last 48 hours. Several communities are under evacuation orders. Carolyn Sankey lives in Boothroyd near the fire. Her community was evacuated yesterday.
I'm devastated. I'm tired. I just want to rest.
Meanwhile, residents in Fort Simpson in the Northwest Territories are waiting to return home. They packed their lives into cars and fled to Yellowknife a week ago. The wildfire threatening their town pushed to within 300 meters of their doorsteps this weekend. But fire crews have been working around the clock. Jessica Davey-Quantic has the latest.
We were expecting the worst, right? We were expecting losses of homes. Mayor Les Wright just returned to Fort Simpson after making sure the majority of residents made it out safely. He got back just in time for flames to come within 300 meters of town. Fire crews, many of whom are from the area, continued working around the clock all weekend.
Still right hard at her, and they are working long days. They're not complaining. They're standing up to the task at hand.
So far, no homes have been lost, although there has been damage to some buildings. NWT Fire Information Officer Forrest Tower says the danger hasn't passed yet, but they're beginning to see a turning point.
We're getting to the point where we're making meaningful progress. For maybe the last week or so, it's been progress, and then we've had huge fire blow-up conditions. We know where the light at the end of the tunnel might be.
It's been a week since residents fled, with many driving over 7 hours on the single highway out of town to reach safety in Yellowknife. Mayor Wright is asking for continued patience.
Nobody can predict how long this is going to last until we're safe to come home.
For now, all the evacuees can do is wait. Jessica Davy-Quantick, CBC News, Yellowknife.
Western India is overwhelmed by monsoon rains, and Mumbai is taking the brunt of the storms. The record-setting rains are creating flooding and landslides. At least 9 people have died. The CBC's Susan Ormiston has more from Mumbai.
Schools and colleges in Mumbai are closed today, the city under red alert, as lashing rain and winds continue for a 6th straight day. Sunday night, a 4-story building collapsed right on top of an adjoining shanty. Maharashtra State Minister Girish Mahajan said 6 people died, including 4 kids. Not since 1975 has South Mumbai faced a day like Saturday with punishing rain, 265 millimeters in 24 hours, and winds whipping up twice as strong as average. 200 trees fell on Sunday alone, killing 2 residents. Last week, a massive one uprooted and fell on a school bus. An 11-year-old boy was killed. Transport is severely disrupted. 2 major highways connecting Mumbai to Pune, an IT hub, are completely blocked because of a landslide. This man in Pune says children were stuck under collapsed trees, but no one came to help. We're struggling to rescue them, he said. In spite of the intensity, meteorologists are predicting monsoon precipitation will come up short of the annual average. A concern when India gets up to 85% of its annual rain during these months. Susan Ormiston, CBC News, Mumbai.
A wave of Russian missiles and drones struck Kyiv overnight. The attack killed at least 11 people and damaged apartment buildings. Russia's defense ministry has confirmed the strikes, saying it used long-range weapons to carry out the attack on Kyiv and other locations. And it comes days after at least 31 people were killed in Russian strikes on the capital. Huge crowds are on the streets of Tehran for the next stage of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei's funeral. Music plays as the hearse carrying the body of the supreme leader makes its way through the streets of Iran's capital. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has been lying in state in Grand Mosalla Mosque over the weekend. Many in the crowd are waving Iranian flags and holding pictures of the Ayatollah. Others are chanting, calling for the death of U.S. President Donald Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The procession will move through some of the holiest sites in Shia Islam. It culminates with Khamenei's burial in his home city of Mashhad on July 9th. The New York Times once called Ontario cottage country Malibu North. Muskoka is north of Toronto, and celebrity sightings are common in the summer. But there's trouble in paradise. Developers and longtime property owners are at odds over a new housing project. As Kate Rutherford reports, councillors have to vote this afternoon on what to do.
It is just woods, and it's no water access, and no one thought remotely that anyone would ever approve of such a preposterous idea.
That's Canadian actor and comedian Martin Short. He's talking about a proposed housing subdivision behind his summer home on Lake Rosso. It would be called Rosso Springs and would offer under 50 lots for sale. Short says he's not anti-development, but says the subdivision is too densely populated and out of character for the pristine landscape. Planning consultant Leo Deloyd argues there's a market for high-end living, even if it's not waterfront.
The proposal is not for what's called affordable housing, so it'll be people that want to have the experience of living near Rosso Hamlet.
Seguin Township Mayor Ann McDermott says affordable housing is what they need. Staff recommended against changes to pave the way for the subdivision, saying the land is zoned rural and lacks services and infrastructure, and it falls outside the approved settlement areas where it is seeking housing. McDermott says the staff report is bang on.
Housing without any infrastructure, without any plan for build-out in a remote area just doesn't feel right to me.
Regardless, some on council have voiced support, saying the development could bring jobs and an economic boost. Kate Rutherford, CBC News, Sudbury.
That's World Report. I'm Marcia Young.
Well, good morning, Manitoba, and hang in there. We got more rain on the way and a lot of warnings with it. I'm Marcy Marcusa. This is Information Radio. We're live in downtown Winnipeg. We've got you covered. This is CBC, 89.3 FM, 990 AM on the app and on YouTube. Well, we'll talk more about where the rain's coming from and flooding in a moment with Heather Wells in our headlines. But also we're going to talk about all of Canada being hit by extreme weather this month. There's a lot of talk about potential solutions moving forward, which will work for our province. We'll talk about that at 10 to 7. Also this hour on this show, did you watch a little footy this weekend? Soccer fans say Canada's World Cup journey, though now over, will be remembered for sparking something much bigger. So we'll talk about that and that game last night between England and Mexico, which was a stunner. Mexico's out as well. And then this decision that you might have heard part of on World Report to remove the red card from the U.S. player who will be on the pitch today. Was FIFA fair in this historic decision? We'll dig into that a little as well. Right now, let's go to Heather Wells for the latest in stories that are developing in Manitoba. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, Manitoba is spending more money on its Washington trade office than the NDP government previously disclosed. The Canoe government pegged the annual budget for the office at $800,000 in 2025. Documents obtained by CBC News show the province has allocated $1 million a year. We're going to hear more about that. And Sioux Valley Dakota Nation in western Manitoba has declared a state of emergency because of rising floodwaters. Chief Jennifer Bone says the ground is already saturated with water in some flood-prone parts of the community along the banks of the Assiniboine. Brandon over the weekend also declaring a state of emergency. I'll be back with more Manitoba news coming up at 6:30.
All right, thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
Okay, let's get into the forecast here. Abby, do you want to start with the forecast and maybe I'll round out some of these warnings at the back?
Yes, we could do that this morning, Marcia. Let's just look at the Red River Valley region at this time, where we have a severe thunderstorm watch in effect for the region. Talking about Winnipeg and nearby areas, Marcia will definitely give you a more in-depth view into what's going to be happening due to that system coming through. But for Winnipeg right now, we're waking up to mostly cloudy skies. It's humid outside, some windy conditions to go with, and we do have a good chance of morning showers starting anytime soon, and this will be followed by some gradual clearing. But we need to deal with this morning storms that's coming our way. We're seeing temperatures sitting around 22 already at this time. We're aiming for 27, and then if you look across other parts of the south, from the Pembina Valley region to the Westman Parkland Interlake region, also humid starts. We're seeing temperatures already close to 20s in that part of the province, climbing near 29. Then up north, the powerful influence, we're seeing temperatures between 13 and 17 degrees, and of course smoky conditions in the Lynn Lake and Tuduli Lake area. Of course, we are spotting sunny conditions there, but most regions will top out around 25 up north. So it's more like a mix of severe southern storms threatening the regions, and then air quality warnings in place due to the smoke from the fire in the northern part of the province. But for the city, we're expecting that transition from the morning storms that should be starting anytime soon to a mix of sun and clouds at a high of 27. Current temperatures in Winnipeg, 22 degrees.
It's crazy. It just keeps coming, Abby.
It just keeps coming, Marcy.
All right. Abby mentioned the smoke warning, so he's correct. Lynn Lake into Dooley Lake. So wildfire smoke, you know the drill, reduced visibility. Unfortunately, you know the drill by now, Manitoba, right? But just be careful with your health and don't be outside too long if you don't have to. When it comes to the severe thunderstorm watch, it is at a yellow level warning right now. And so, by the way, is the air quality on the new system Environment Canada has and Climate Change Canada has. So the yellow watch for the severe thunderstorm do include all of southern Manitoba. So this is, it's dark this morning, but this is going to continue through this evening and overnight across southern Manitoba. This is going to bring potentially 4 to 6 centimeter size hail, 50 to 70 millimeters of rainfall in local amounts, and winds up to 100 kilometers per hour. So we have seen this already this spring and summer, and we potentially are going to see it again as this cold front moves through, bringing these storms. So we'll watch all of this, and obviously you're already taking care and know how severe the weather can be. It's just been crazy. All right, let's get into other things. Corey Funk is back. We're all back to our regular team this week. Nice to have you back.
Good to be back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you? You rode your bike in.
I did, and I slipped because it was wet.
You had a tumble. Are you okay?
And I cursed the rain. Yes,
Yeah.
I'm okay, but this is one of those moments where you're
Scraped
like,
up.
if it
Corey's all
wasn't-
scraped up.
I know. If it wasn't raining so darn much, I'd be in better shape. But my pants have started to dry, so that's fine. We're there.
Okay.
But you know that this rain still causing issues, of course, on the highways, particularly around the Duck Mountain Provincial Park. And so there's so many highway closures actually in that area. It's more than I could even list on air. So we're talking around Roblin area, around Swan River, even as far east as Camperville area. There's a number of closed highways. So if you're heading out in that area around Duck Mountain, northwest of Riding Mountain National Park, Parkland region, check Manitoba 511. There's a number of highways closed. And of course, if there's barricades up, don't go past those because it might mean flooded highways. So heads up there. If you do see anything else going on the highways here in Winnipeg or anywhere else, if you're walking your bike and you're driving, you can give me a call. We were on actually the river boat on Wednesday for Canada Day doing some hits into the national show.
It was fun.
And just heads up that the river trail closed right now as well because it's underwater. Give me a call if you see anything else going on. 204-788-3093.
All right, I'm going to rein this in just a bit. I had mentioned the yellow watch for severe thunderstorms. Specifically, it is Winnipeg, Brandon, Gimli, so across that track of southern Manitoba. Next on the show, I know I got caught in this yesterday, but then it was a good realization of why I couldn't drive down Corridon yesterday late afternoon into the evening. Corridon is car free. A stretch from Lilac to Daly will be pedestrian only until September. This is a new initiative called Open Corridon, and it is, of course, one of Winnipeg's most popular streets. It's going car free on Sundays. So yesterday, hundreds of people did walk around Corridon with no worries about traffic. One of them was CBC's Gavin Axelrod, who was there to see what people thought of it.
Ryder Boychuk.
Destiny Muth. Don Sholokhova.
Tell me about what do you guys think about Corridon being open this summer? I think it's fantastic. Winnipeg has always been a place of open community, and we also have nothing to do here.
There's literally nothing.
I think
having an activity.
we're kind of in an age of like a lot of isolation and atomization of people and individuals, and so I think open community spaces are very important like this.
I love it. Usually there's not much around. We kind of just like hang out at someone's house or like go to 7-Eleven, but it's nice having like actual things, and like there's a lot of cool people and places to like look at and buy things from. Really nice that are having somewhere like outside to do stuff that doesn't actually cost anything. So much of the activities like everywhere cost like $20 per person.
Steve Ramos. All right.
What do you think of like the turnout today so far?
I mean, this is first day, right? This is a great turnout considering it's a perfect day for it. Yeah, we live in the area, and yeah, the city needs more of this.
Neil Hamilton.
What are your impressions so far? I saw you guys were walking down here.
We need more people. Way more people. But I'm sure this is the first year, I think.
Yeah, this is the first weekend, yeah.
Right, so I'm sure it'll pick up steam as the weeks unfold. I know I'll be down here every week just to check it out.
What made you want to come down today?
I don't know if I can say this, but we had a beer at Bar I. And at the end of a long bike ride, that's what you want to do. Because the restaurants are fantastic, the bars are fantastic, the coffee shops are fantastic, and get your butt out of wherever you are and get out in the sunshine.
Gordon Avenue, a stretch of it there from Lilac to Daly, closed on Sundays as part of a new initiative. That's been talked about for a lot of years. There was talk way back in the day from Gordon Avenue Biz because of closing the entire stretch of Gordon, actually, and making it entirely pedestrian friendly. This is just an initiative for the summertime for that block. So we'll see how it goes. It's also interesting just because Gordon Avenue has sort of ebbed and flowed. It's gone through lots of different changes and sort of had gap tooth vacancies as well a number of years ago. It seems to have filled in somewhat. So we'll see how this initiative goes. If you want to weigh in, you can always let us know what you think of it. 788-3205. That was CBC's Gavin Axelrod yesterday out talking to some of the first people experiencing open Corridon. Well, we have some music next from Winnipeg-based artist Trish V. Her latest single is called It's Okay.
Woke up, the story's still the same. Doesn't matter how you wish some things would change, and I'm here. You're loved, it's okay. Grief pulls you to the ground. Tears fall and peace refuses to be found, and I'm here. You're loved, it's okay. Keep going, this is not the end, and keep breathing, and then breathe again now. Keep hoping on the darkest days. Keep going, you will find your can be hard sometimes. Some days the miracle is that you're still alive, and I'm here. You're loved, it's okay. The world keeps spinning fast. You're so fear to love the things you know can't last, and I'm here. You're loved, it's okay. Keep going, this is not the end, and keep breathing, and then breathe again now. Keep hoping on the darkest days. Keep going, you will find your way. Don't give up. The end, and keep breathing, and then breathe again. Keep hoping on the darkest days. Keep going, you will find your way. Keep going, this is not the end, and keep breathing, and then breathe again. Keep hoping on the darkest days. Find your way, and I'm here. You're loved, it's okay.
Quite a song, hey? It really builds. It almost sounds like it's plucked from a musical. It is called It's Okay, and it's from Winnipeg-based artist Trish V. It's her latest. 6:23 a.m. I'm Marcy Marcuso. Well, it could actually be a little bit of a theme song for the teams that were knocked out of World Cup this morning. It's okay. Keep going. Keep breathing. There will be other games to come, but it might not feel like that in this moment for the fans of Mexico. Mexico lost to England last night. What a match that was, 3-2. And then Canada, of course. Saturday afternoon, the nation was hoping. They came out of the gate strong, but then Morocco kicked in that second half. So the 2026 World Cup dream might be over for Team Canada and the men's team, but the country's soccer story is far from finished. Canada's run ended with, as I mentioned, a 3-0 loss to Morocco Saturday in the round of 16. That's the farthest the men's team has ever made it in the tournament. Despite the defeat, fans say the World Cup's legacy is going to help rebuild the shape of Canadian soccer. But a lot of analysts are saying if we don't capitalize on this moment, build some facilities, figure out the programs to move talent through the ranks, that we might miss out on something special. So Greg Strong is here to talk about the tournament and to talk about the future in Canada. Sports reporter who covers FIFA World Cup for the Canadian Press. Good morning.
Good morning.
So what'd you think about how Canada played in that last game, but also how they left the pitch on Saturday?
Yeah, tough result for Canada for sure, but I thought they came out well in the first half, really played with a lot of aggressiveness and really tried to set the tone against a tough Moroccan side that was ranked 7th in the world coming into the tournament and made it to the semifinals 4 years ago in Qatar. So nothing to hang the heads about after a 3-0 loss for sure. I think Morocco showed, though, that it is in that upper tier. Canada has made tremendous strides over the last few weeks, but has plenty of work left to do to get to that upper echelon.
Now, I have no business giving my own opinion on this because I don't know enough about soccer. But I was sort of sitting there going, I don't understand why Alphonso Davies wasn't put in the match. Can you help us understand that?
Yeah, the Alphonso Davies injury is certainly a talking point for the last 2 months, really, ever since he suffered a hamstring injury while playing with Bayern Munich, his European team. So for Davies, it's becoming a chronic problem, his hamstring issues. It's happened a few times in the past. And certainly, you don't want to rush back with a hamstring issue. And of course, the timing was tight with this tournament. So he did get on for 15 minutes in the South Africa 1-0 win in the round of 32. And that certainly fed the optimism that, hey, maybe Davies could have a significant impact in the Morocco game. He is Canada's superstar at left back and can really change a game when he's in top form. But he never really got into heavy warm-up mode against in the Morocco game. He was just kind of sat on the sidelines. They both him and head coach Jesse Marsh said he wasn't quite 100%, felt something, I believe, the day before. And, with a hamstring, of course, you want to be able to go into a full sprint. Davies did not feel he was at that stage. And so, unfortunately for Canadian fans, remained on the sidelines.
What a shame, because, of course, a lot of people were watching going, okay, last game he changed the tempo when he went on and, really picked it up and lifted the team, and we couldn't have that happen. You talked about the fact that they showed up on the world stage, but you also said work to do. Where's the Canadian men's work to do you think?
I think it's their finishing ability. The team's offense was a talking point leading into this event, and I think it was certainly quieted after the 6-0 rout of Qatar. But Qatar was ranked much lower in the FIFA rankings and was down to 9 men in that game after a couple of red cards. And so, 1 goal against Switzerland, 1 against Bosnia, 1 against South Africa, and none against Morocco. The offense just needs to be better. And that's easier said than done. You need the firepower. You need your star players like Jonathan David, like Kyle Larin, just as 2 examples, to really take advantage of their opportunities. And that certainly happened in the Qatar game, but it didn't happen enough in the others.
Yep.
Certainly not against Morocco.
All right, 2 other topics to cover here. One is the suspension of the American player, and now he's back on the pitch. So we're talking about Folarin Balogun, who has got a red card, and now it's been reversed. I mean, this is, for people that don't follow soccer, this is extraordinary. But I did see some analysis saying he didn't deserve the red card in the first place. So I don't know sort of how to view this decision. Can you talk a little bit about the all the controversy and buzz around it?
Yeah, there's several layers to this story, and without getting too into the weeds on it, the bottom line is he had a one-game suspension that would have taken him out of today's game against Belgium, but that was just on the eve of competition yesterday. FIFA declared he was allowed to play, and they were essentially turning that one-game ban into a probationary period for the next year. So that, of course, set off alarm bells amongst the commentators who were watching this sport in this tournament, and they just couldn't believe it, that it would happen on the eve of competition, that there would be no real transparency as far as the reasoning for why the change was made. And now we're seeing reports that U.S. President Donald Trump had called FIFA President Gianni Infantino to say, hey, I think you should review this. And then, sure enough, we get the change yesterday. So it has been certainly a significant talking point in the last 24 hours. And that will only ramp up ahead of game time today in the round of 16.
It sure will. Just last quick question, and I don't mean to bury this one, but to the point I made at the beginning, how much of a moment is this for us to capitalize on in Canada to improve venues, getting people to that higher level of soccer, in your view?
Yeah, it's a huge moment for Canada, for soccer, to see this men's team, win its first game ever at this tournament was a significant hurdle cleared. And then to make it all the way to the round of 16, just huge. And, when we look back at the big Canadian soccer moments, I also think back to 5 years ago when the Canadian women's team won Olympic gold in Japan. And what a moment that was, how it really just galvanized the country. It just got everyone talking and really feeling that love for these soccer teams. And yes, it will probably heighten interest amongst the younger generation, but I think it'll be a huge stepping stone as we look ahead to other big tournaments for this men's team, and notably 2030, the next time the World Cup rolls around.
And those young players need places to train. It's not about watching soccer necessarily. It's the training streams as well to improve. We'll have to leave it there, Greg. We'll be watching today what develops. Thank you.
Thank you.
Greg Strong with us, talking FIFA, sports reporter covering the World Cup for the Canadian Press. Your CBC News from Manitoba is next.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. At 6:30, it's 22 degrees. It's not going to be quite as hot as yesterday, a high of 27 as that wind becomes northwesterly. After this morning's shower activity, we'll see a mix of sun and clouds this afternoon. Sioux Valley Dakota Nation in western Manitoba has declared a state of emergency as floodwaters rise. Chief Jennifer Bone says the ground's already saturated in some flood-prone parts of the community along the banks of the Assiniboine. Nearly 190 people have been told to prepare in case of evacuation, but a mandatory evacuation order had not been issued as of Sunday.
There's no immediate cause right now for panic for our community members, and just encouraging them to remain calm and just to be prepared.
Bone says crews were surrounding homes with sandbags throughout the weekend. She says the Assiniboine is expected to crest later this week. Also this weekend, Brandon, too, declaring a state of emergency. Manitoba is spending more money on its U.S. trade office than the NDP government previously disclosed. CBC's Bartley Kivas reports.
I've got a fairly decent Rolodex.
That's Richard Madden, Manitoba's trade rep to Washington after his appointment in 2025. At the time, the NDP government said the province is spending $800,000 a year on the U.S. trade office. According to documents obtained by CBC News, the province has actually allocated $1 million. A spokesperson for Premier Wab Kinew said that's just a contingency and said the actual cost is $800,000 to $900,000. These figures do not appear in Manitoba's budget. Abhi Khan leads the PC opposition.
Why isn't there a simple line in the budget that says this is what the trade office is going to cost?
Kinew's deputy chief of staff said the trade office budget is embedded within a $28 million line item called grant assistance. Duff Conacher, the co-founder of Democracy Watch, said that is not sufficiently transparent.
The government is showing a dangerously undemocratic level of secrecy and denial of the public's right to know in this situation.
Madden declined comment. Bartley Kivas, CBC News, Winnipeg.
CBC News has learned Prime Minister Mark Carney is expected to announce this afternoon Canada's favoured pick to build a fleet of a dozen new submarines. Shipbuilders from Germany and South Korea are competing for the contract to replace Canada's aging Victoria-class subs. Between acquisition and maintenance costs, the price tag could total around $100 billion. Both countries are offering lucrative investments in Canadian industries, including defence and manufacturing, to make up for some of the costs. Carney will speak in Halifax before making his way to Turkey for this week's NATO summit. In Ukraine, at least 11 people are dead after a barrage of Russian drones and missiles. One drone hitting an apartment building in Kyiv. Russia's military confirms it carried out attacks on military and industrial targets and energy sites in the Kyiv region. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has warned about an immediate Russian attack. Zelensky and Russian President Vladimir Putin held separate phone calls with U.S. President Donald Trump over the weekend, aimed at finding an end to the fighting. You can hear more national and international news coming up on World Report at 7. Well, people flocked to Corden Avenue yesterday as a stretch of that street swapped cars for people. It was the first summer Sunday where a 4-block stretch was closed to vehicles and open to foot traffic. At Tommy's Pizza, owner Thomas Schneider says they sold 160 slices as of late afternoon, a record and counting.
It's just nice to see people finally walking. Like, you don't really, it slowed down a lot. When I grew up, Corden was the place to be. You'd see people walking all the time, and this is the most foot traffic I've seen all year.
4 blocks of the street are closed from Daly to Lilac Street on open Corden days, and they run every Sunday until September 6th. Well, it was a game that saw 2 star quarterbacks leave injured. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers edged the Hamilton Tiger Cats 14-13, that game in Hamilton. Coach Mike O'Shea says the game had a cost.
2 premier starting quarterbacks going down in the same game is not good for the league. So hopefully both guys make a speedy recovery. I don't know anything about either one right now, but Bo was on a heater, and the league needs that. Obviously, points are up, and obviously we believe Zach's the best quarterback in the league. So when you lose that, the game ends up probably the lowest scoring game this season.
Taylor Elgersma stepped into Winnipeg's quarterback position. The Bombers next play Friday, hosting the Argos. You can find the latest news updated throughout the day. All you have to do is head to cbc.ca/Manitoba.
All right, thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
Well, Heather was mentioning that we had this chance of showers this morning. We already saw some rain in Winnipeg and maybe severe thunderstorm. And then we're going to have a bit of a break of mix of sun and cloud. It's actually starting to clear just a little bit downtown. That dark cloud cover just breaking up. Let's get into our regional forecast, though, and look at what's happening. And then I'll share some of the warnings and we'll get into your commute.
Yeah, just peeking outside now, and I see some wipers going, so it looks like we're already getting some light drizzle in the city here in the city.
I just said it stopped, but now it's back. Okay.
Yep, the blades are rolling again in the city, so look out for that. We're expecting this storm to really hit the Red River and the Pembina Valley into the Westman and Interlake region today. It's going to be bringing some storms, so be prepared for that. Outlook, we're seeing temperatures around 22 in the city right now. Expect this morning storms to really stay with us before it clears to like a sunny mix later in the day when we warm to 27. Across the south from the Pembina Valley region from Morden towards the Headingley area, we're seeing 21, 22s in that part of the province. Humid conditions in the mix, aiming for a high of 29. Brandon all the way towards Nipawin, it's mild there. We're seeing a stormy 18 degrees at this time. The rain is going to clear out by the afternoon time, and you see highs of 28. We're seeing those thunderstorms really present in the Brandon area at this time, so look out for that. Then from Dauphin towards the Roblin area, mostly cloudy, 18, aiming for a high of 28. Gimli is looking cloudy at this time, 20 degrees with some breezy conditions, highs of 27. We cross over into the central part of the province, the Par Flin Flon, mostly cloudy at this time, sitting around 17 degrees, highs of 22 in the forecast. Norway House is enjoying some sunny conditions, 15 degrees. There's a slim chance of showers in the forecast, aiming for a high of 24. Then we move to the Thompson area, where we're seeing partly cloudy skies there, 13 degrees at this time, and a high of 24. Lynn Lake is smoky at this time, 13 degrees. degrees. We're looking at the highs of 18 degrees in that part of the province. Similar conditions we're seeing in the Gillam area, partly cloudy 16, aiming for a high of 25. And then for Tudula Lake, we have widespread smoke there, cloudy there. 13 at this time, aiming for a high of 17. For Churchill, sunny conditions 16, windy conditions to go with that, and a high of 22. So it's more like a stormy southern humidity and smoky northern skies. That's what we're getting today. But for Winnipeg, we're 22, aiming for 27, Marcy.
All right, thanks, Abby. And now to our junior teen correspondent, Corey.
Hi, Marcy.
Corey Funk.
Good to be here.
With the commute. So why are we doing this? If you're watching on YouTube, Corey's like near 6 feet, and I'm about 5'6", but I look huge. I look super tall compared to Corey.
I've always looked up to you, Mercy. Just never like this.
Because there's a chair in the studio that we can't get to raise and lower.
My knees are nearly touching my chin.
You've been shrinking since you've been sitting
here.
Here's Tiny Corey with the commute.
Well, so far here in the city, it actually has been pretty quiet so far. Haven't heard of any major issues yet, but I can't reach the phone, so I don't really know for sure. But if you do see something, you can call me. I will let people know, though, that up the biggest issue right now, of course, is those flooded highways up northwest of Riding Mountain there. So we're talking around Roblin, Swan River, even as far east as Camperville there, like near the shores of Lake Winnipegosis. There's a lot of closed highways right through Duck Mountain Provincial Park as well because of flooding. So if you see something, if you're planning to hit the highways in that area, do check Manitoba 511 before you go. Things start changing quickly, as we all know, in that area of the province. If you do see something, though, you can give me a call on the CBC commuter line if you're walking, you're biking, you're driving. Would love to hear from you. I'll get a ladder so I can reach the phone, 204-788-3093.
You can swap the chairs. Might be easier. Thanks, Corey.
Thank you.
I will mention the watches just to repeat here. Yellow watch, a severe thunderstorm, Winnipeg, Brand, and Gimli. We're talking about hail, 50 to 70 millimeters of rain, 100-kilometer-an-hour wind gusts. So this is for tonight and overnight. And then a yellow warning for air quality throughout today for Lynn Lake and Tudula because of the wildfire smoke. All right, let's get to business news. Phil DeMont is in all week for Crystal Lee Ramlacan. Hi, Phil.
I actually went to YouTube to try to find a picture of Corey and what this looked like. All I got was information, or the World at 6 or whatever it is.
You're probably on the wrong stream, but we are streaming there live. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm just terrible at that, but I did want to see how short he looked.
That was just funny because the chair just kept going down and down and down. Nice to have you on the show again. Let's talk the federal government.
Terrific.
Set to announce who gets the contract to build these 12 new subs for our Navy. What does this mean economically, Phil?
Well, I think it's the federal government trying to get at two problems with one hammer. The first one, the obvious one, our commitment in defense to spend 5% of GDP within the next 10 years, and that's what the contract's stemming from. But it also could help our flagging productivity performance in recent years. That's where Canada's economy suffered. Marcy, basically a country improves its economy either by increasing the size of its workforce or getting each worker to make more widgets. Now, we know Canada's population shrank for the first time ever last year, mainly by stopping immigration, and our productivity per worker has fallen for the past 6 months. It's been negative, but it's an indicator that's been going in the wrong direction for years for Canada. So one way governments historically have helped national productivity is through defense spending. The Americans did this very well after the Second World War. That's because a big chunk of that cash goes to develop sophisticated technologies, but then they can have commercial spillover effects. A radar, for a drone also can work in other contexts. But our defense sector, it is increasing. There was an article today about how more and more companies are trying to join the various associations. But right now, our defense sector, where the money would have the most effect, is kind of small. $17 billion in revenue in 2024. You compare that to France, where its defense industries had revenues of more than $70 billion in the same year. So the small size of our defense sector could result in, at least the near term, Canadian spending on defense, sending of those precious dollars to other countries not being able to be spent here because we just don't have the infrastructure industrially yet.
To another story, the U.S. might have its own productivity problems, Phil. Why is the labor force participation rate so important?
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it is, but it shows how many people have a job or are looking for one. And in the U.S. right now, that percentage is falling. So June, the numbers came out last week. About 61% of Americans either had a job or were looking for one. But that's 61%, the lowest rate. Labor participation rate since 1976. And it means you have a smaller workforce, basically. By contrast, Canada's labor force participation rate steady at 65%. So, and this is a world where it doesn't move 10 percentage points, it moves 0.5% or 1%. So that 4% difference is actually a big number. Now, there are different reasons why this figure might be dropping in the U.S. Could be a statistical anomaly, could just be a data issue, but also could be because economic prospects are getting gloomy. Now, this is a debate, but here's why I look at it. The U.S. economy, the last Biden year, if you averaged out over the 12 months of 2024, they spun off an average of 168,000 new jobs a month in 2024. This year, 49,000 jobs. So there's a lot fewer new jobs getting created. There's a lot fewer job openings. So people might be leaving the U.S. labor force and going back to school or whatever because they basically don't think they can get a job. Also, the American economy experienced negative population growth for the first time anyone can remember. That's zero immigration there. So you got a smaller domestic workforce, no immigration. So the American economy could be staring down at a looming labor productivity problem, in the next little while.
And finally, this morning, how is the actor Brooke Shields taking on Kenny and Cartman from South Park?
Yeah, it's around the Casa Bonita. It's a restaurant owned by Trey Parker and Matt Stone, the creators of South Park. A few years ago, they rescued the beloved Denver Eatery from bankruptcy. Now it's a Mexican food place, but you don't just get Mexican food. You can see cliff divers jumping off into a blue lagoon in the restaurant. Maybe a magician comes up to your table and performs a sleight of hand. They got a bunch of that stuff going on. That's where Brooke Shields enters the picture. She's the head of Actors Equity, which is the union for American actors. And she's been bargaining with Stone and Parker on a new deal for Case's live performers, and she argues is getting nowhere. Proposed wage increase less than $1, but she says, or the union contends, it's about safety. Lack of safety protocols for divers. Somebody got hypothermia from jumping into the pool. No security for actors interacting with the restaurants, as many as 3,500 patrons in a given night. That can go bad. So Shields showed up recently at the restaurant to deliver a letter asking for better working conditions and wages for the employees. No word on the response from the South Park duo, but it might give an answer to the iconic line from that show, "They killed Kenny." Well, maybe it'll be Brooke Shields.
Take care, Phil. Thank you.
Thank you.
Phil DeMont with our business news this morning, filling in for Crystal Ramlakan. Still ahead this half hour on the program, what do we do with all of this extreme and severe weather across Canada and certainly here in Manitoba with flooding and fires now being fought in the same month? We're going to talk about what solutions are being discussed when it comes to preparedness and also aftermath in Canada. So stay tuned. That's in a few minutes from now. This morning, Brandon, still in a state of emergency. The overflowing Assiniboine River is forecast to rise continually. We have live the mayor of Brandon coming up with us here on Information Radio right after 7 o'clock. And then, as you heard in the news, Sioux Valley Dakota Nation in Westman is still under a state of emergency due to rising floodwater as well. That mandatory evacuation order, though, for Swan River and the most flood-affected areas there was lifted. And so we'll see what this week has to hold for residents there. Next on the show, each and every day, more of us are getting used to having instant answers thanks to AI and chatbots, and then having to navigate if they're correct or not. But what if that ease is chipping away at our patience for the slowness of the real world, and our tolerance for waiting? This morning, the CBC's Manjula Selvarajil has a look at AI and the decline of patience.
There's been a lot said about the negative implications of chatbots.
People are relying on AI chatbots for advice, companionship, and emotional support. But there are growing concerns that it's leading to worrying or even dangerous results.
More Canadians are turning to artificial intelligence with questions about their health, but the answers they're getting could be wrong.
Christian Miller says there's one area that's missing in the headlines,
which is how it's providing an obstacle to our being able to develop the virtue of patience.
Miller studies virtue and moral character. He's a professor of philosophy at Wake Forest University in North Carolina and the author of The Honesty Crisis. In an article for the online publication The Conversation, Miller makes a case for how AI may be affecting our patience and therefore our well-being.
All virtues contribute to well-being. It goes all the way back to Aristotle. Aristotle thought that the most important component of well-being or flourishing is virtue. And like any virtue, it's not something we're born with. We have to work at it. It's a muscle that needs to be exercised.
Miller says a slow and thoughtful approach to learning and searching throughout life grows our capacity for patience, while our embrace of chatbots for quick answers erodes the opportunity to strengthen this muscle.
We have now a shortcut that can get us answers automatically and instantaneously, recalibrated what is normal. In the past, they were normalized around hours. Now they're normalized around minutes, perhaps even seconds.
Welcome to the era of instant information gratification.
I think there's very little patience. I think one of the things we struggle with now as a generation is that we want things instantly. We want it rapidly, so we don't really wait. So in a sense, it's part of the challenge of our generation now to slow down. Thich Nhat Hanh, the Zen monk, he says it's a hurry sickness. He actually calls it a sickness.
Ranjini George teaches courses on Stoicism, Buddhism, and creative writing at the University of Toronto School of Continuing Studies.
When I was growing up, we went to the library and we researched things. So there is the good part of technology and the fact that there is so much of information that we can access, but we don't have the patience to read for sustained lengths of time. We don't have the patience for periods of long introspection and contemplation and just slowing down.
Christian Miller acknowledges that research on how chatbots influence specific character traits is still in the early days. But until there is conclusive research on this front, he wants people to keep up their patience training. Why does patience matter?
At the individual level, healthier lifestyles, greater emotional regulation, more fulfilling relationships, increased care about equity and justice, increased cooperation, on and on, the list is long. If there are fewer and fewer opportunities to exercise this muscle, then it's just going to be harder and harder to get there, to succeed in acquiring this virtue.
I ask Ranjini George how to foster patience in a world that values effectiveness and immediacy.
You know, everything is practice. You practice anger, you'll be an angry person. You practice writing, you'll be a better writer. You practice patience and you will, gradually be more patient.
She says, tune into your reactions to life as it unfolds and notice when you're impatient.
You realize you're impatient, but you just let it stay in the room and maybe go to your breath. Just take 1 or 2 breaths, because a lot of people are impatient without even realizing they're impatient. But the awareness that I feel impatience is something. And so you can consciously slow down.
Christian Miller suggests choosing the slower path to learn and wrestle with intellectual challenges. He also recommends taking on slow activities to exercise patience, like working on a craft, perfecting a basketball shot, or weeding a garden. So a note to gardeners weeding this summer and pulling out those pesky dandelions: tell yourself it's a way to practice a virtue. For CBC Radio, I'm Manjula Selvarajah.
8 minutes to 7 o'clock. Now, we've been talking about the flooding emergencies here in Manitoba. The mayor of Brandon is on after 7 o'clock. But for some, the extreme weather all across this country brings climate change to mind. This morning, Amelia Bellevaux is with us. She's the Energy Transition Manager at the not-for-profit Environmental Defence, to weigh in. Good morning.
Good morning.
So, given that we have so much extreme weather across this country, and I don't have to tell people in Manitoba what's going on right now, why do you think that we're talking less about climate change in your estimation?
Well, while we may be hearing about it less, I just want to emphasize that Canadians still do deeply care about climate change and are expecting our governments to act. So polling from just last month showed that 80% of Canadians are concerned about climate change, which is actually up from the past couple of years. But we are seeing that issues like affordability and sovereignty are top of mind, given what's going on politically right now. So it's not that people are less worried about climate change. It's just that these other concerns that have a lot of urgency built in have risen to the front of the conversation. But a lot of these issues are actually deeply connected because, climate change makes life more expensive. And on the flip side, climate solutions can actually help bring the cost of living, make it more affordable.
Can you attach it to the weather events we're talking about right now?
Yes. So with extreme weather events, obviously the flooding that you're talking about, we're seeing both the cost of needing to, recover from those extreme weather events, which is often borne by our governments, our municipalities, and individuals. And then individuals are paying more for the rising cost of home insurance or insurance for other things. Already, that's about $500 a year up from previous years up from when we started looking at this in 2008 because of climate change. So we're seeing a lot of financial impacts from these extreme weather events, and then climate solutions, whether it's electrifying our transport or building up the clean economy, they can make life more affordable in the day-to-day, but also then reduce the cost of climate change impacts over the long term.
This is obviously your daily work at Environmental Defense and your daily advocacy. So what are some of the policies that you'd like to see implemented?
Well, we know that the Prime Minister really wants to focus on building right now. And so if we're talking about what Canada should be building, we really shouldn't be building another oil pipeline. What we should be focusing that energy on is building up our clean electricity grid. So a clean grid is really the backbone of a strong and clean economy. And so modernizing our existing electricity grid and powering it with renewables is a really important first step. There's lots of other things that we should be investing in as well, public transit, home retrofits, EVs. But from a sort of like underlying perspective, definitely that electricity backbone. And then we do need strong climate regulations that incentivize the transition and that regulate pollution from our most polluting sectors, which is the fossil fuel industry.
Can you explain more about stopping the pipeline? Because I think that conversation has changed over the years, and not just politically, but also because of how world events have changed, how our relationship with the States has changed, what's been happening with oil in the world. So how could Canada position itself for clean energy in a timeline that would meet the moment that we're in right now if we do just say no pipeline?
Well, the timeline question is really important because by the time a pipeline in Canada actually gets built, if ever, is right around the time, actually just past the time when the global oil market is set to enter structural decline. So it's not a good investment, which is part of why we haven't seen a private company build the pipeline itself. And then the other aspect of this is that because of the global instability, especially around the oil supply chain that we've seen this past year, a lot of countries that import fossil fuels have actually decided to accelerate their energy transitions in response to this. And so the timeline around 2030, which was previously predicted by modeling from the International Energy Agency to be peak oil for global markets, is probably going to actually happen sooner than that because we're seeing such an emphasis from importing countries on electrifying, on the energy transition. And so the market that Canada is hoping to sell its oil into is not a growing market.
Thank you very much for your analysis, Amelia. Appreciate your perspective.
Thank you very much.
Amelia Béliveau with us, the Energy Transition Manager at the not-for-profit Environmental Defense. Thanks for joining us this morning. And my apologies, because I had said we were going to dig into solutions for some of the problems plaguing us, including flooding and all the extreme weather events. And of course, the focus of that interview, much more bigger picture. We are, though, going to talk about solutions in the short term because the mayor of Brandon is going to be on with us after 7 o'clock. They declared a state of emergency over the weekend. The overflowing of Assiniboine River is forecast to continue to rise, the peak there on July 12th. So the mayor of Brandon will be on the show right here in Information Radio on CBC Live after 7. Also in the next hour of the show, we are in music festival season, so be listening at 7:40. Everyone in Manitoba might need a little bit of a musical break from the flooding. So we have a ticket giveaway that might help put a smile on your face. Stay tuned. We'll tell you how you can win and which festival we're talking about. And then dump it, drain it, or cover it. Those are 3 tips from a local entomologist for preventing more mosquitoes from calling your yard home and your legs and arms lunch. We're going to get some more details. The mosquitoes are pretty bad this year, aren't they? All right, it's 3 minutes now to 7 o'clock. It is mostly cloudy. It's 22 degrees. The sky actually now has clouded back over. The rain is on the window of our studio here, and the wipers are going downtown. We have a 70% chance these showers or a possible thunderstorm is going to continue to develop this morning. And then this afternoon, a mix of sun and cloud for Winnipeg, and we'll be around 27. It's really sticky out there. We also have smoke warnings around the wildfire areas around Lynn Lake and Dooley, and that severe thunderstorm yellow level watch continues for Winnipeg, but also for Brandon and Gimli. The commute's moving fine. Check the highways before you go out at 511 due to floods. Heather Wells is in with headlines.
Not just the city of Brandon, but Sioux Valley Dakota Nation nearby also has declared a state of emergency due to rising floodwaters. Chief Jennifer Bone says the ground's already saturated in flood-prone areas. Nearly 190 people in Sioux Valley have been told to prepare in case of evacuation. Manitoba is spending more money on its Washington trade office than the NDP government previously disclosed. The Canoe government pegged the annual budget for that office at $800,000 in 2025. Documents obtained by CBC News show the province has allocated $1 million a year. We'll hear the latest coming up in our next local news at 7:30.
All right. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
Heather Wells live in our news center. Stay with us right here. World Report is next at 7 a.m. It's 1 minute to right now on 89.3. I'm Marcy Marcusa.
I would prefer not having an agreement, but I'm open to doing it. We'll see what happens.
The uncertainty about North American trade means businesses aren't spending, and that in turn means consumers aren't spending. What all of this trade trouble means for the economy and you, coming up on The Current.
The Current, this morning at 8:37, 9:07 in Newfoundland, and on the CBC Listen app.
This is World Report. Good morning. I'm Marcia Young. We will soon find out which of Canada's allies will build the Navy's new fleet of submarines, Germany or South Korea. Prime Minister Mark Carney will make the announcement later today. It comes on the eve of the NATO summit in Ankara, Turkey. And the contract has an expected value of more than $100 billion over its entire lifespan. Rafi Boudjikanian has been watching this for us from our parliamentary bureau. And Rafi, what are the differences between the two proposals?
So Germany has teamed up with Norway for theirs, and you know that they're NATO allies. They've been emphasizing how buying their subs would be good for compatibility with the rest of the alliance. They've been talking about building a heavy torpedo plant and hypersonic missile testing. That would all mean redeveloping the port of Churchill in Manitoba. South Korea, meanwhile, wants to invest in green infrastructure, build hydrogen-powered trucks and refueling networks, and build armored vehicles here using Canadian steel. Now, Canada's talked a lot about increasing their ties to the Indo-Pacific region for years, so Korea's thinking here in part is, okay, show us the money. And while the Germans say they can deliver their first 4 subs by 2036, the Koreans say they can do that a year sooner.
And the Prime Minister will then be off to NATO. What is on the agenda there?
So after years of Canada being a laggard in defense spending, the Prime Minister will want to show off how this country reached the NATO goal of spending 2% of GDP on defense this year. Ukraine will be on the agenda, as it has been for the last several years. And once Carney wraps up in Turkey, he's headed to Saudi Arabia later this week, the first visit by a Canadian Prime Minister there in 26 years.
All right. Thank you, Rafi.
You're welcome.
The CBC's Rafi Boudjikanian at our parliamentary bureau in Ottawa. Fast-moving wildfires are tearing across parts of Western Canada and the north. Several communities are under evacuation orders. In British Columbia's Fraser Canyon, the Brunswick Creek wildfire is out of control. It's grown 12 times in less than 48 hours. Carolyn Sankey lives in Boothryde near the fire. She fled with her family yesterday.
We loaded the truck last night. We put a couple suitcases in there. This morning, he went out there and he covered it with a tarp. And the tarp ashes started on fire. There was holes in our tarp from the ashes. So we knew we had to get out of there.
Meanwhile, another emergency is unfolding in the Northwest Territories. A 150 square kilometer wildfire pushed within 300 meters of Fort Simpson over the weekend. Officials asked non-essential residents to leave. So far, crews report they've been able to keep homes from burning. Fire officials warn the volatile weather means the danger has not yet passed. Huge crowds are on the streets of Tehran. The body of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has begun a long journey home. The Iranian leader was killed at the start of the U.S.-Israeli war on Iran. As CBC senior international correspondent Margaret Evans reports, the public mourning is intentionally political.
Day 3 of Iran's long farewell to the slain supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. A procession bearing his coffin winding its way through Tehran's streets, crowded with loyal supporters. Iranian leadership has called the funeral a referendum on the future of the Islamic Republic, a spectacle authorities predict will draw 20 million people to the streets before Khamenei is buried on Thursday. We want to show the world that we Iranians are united, that despite our different views, we stand together, says this mourner, Motahara Kansari. But Iran is anything but united, a country of more than 90 million people, where those opposed to the rule of the clerics will be staying home, their options for dissent extremely limited in the wake of the violent security crackdown on anti-government protests in January. This 37-year-old Tehran resident said Ali Khamenei's demise has eased the pain of those opposed to his rule, but that it isn't a cure. That, he said in a voice message to CBC News, will only come with the complete overthrow of the Islamic Republic. We're protecting his identity for his own security. There are also internal divisions within the Iranian leadership. Many hardliners in the crowd demanding revenge for the Ayatollah's death, not negotiations with the United States. Margaret Evans, CBC News, London.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky is urging NATO to make strong decisions at this week's summit in Ankara. His comments come just hours after Russian drone and missile strikes on the capital, Kyiv. At least 11 people are dead. Ukraine's air forces say Russia launched 68 missiles and 351 drones at Ukraine overnight. Anna Cunningham reports.
The hum of an incoming Russian drone targeting Kyiv. This was another night of heavy attacks on the Ukrainian capital. 21-year-old Alexandra Koputina is in shock. Wrapped in a foil blanket, she cannot believe she escaped alive. We ended up blocked in there, she says, and then the rescuers saved us. As she looks at the gaping hole where her apartment was, emergency services tell residents to take shelter, fearing more incoming drones. In several locations across Kyiv, rescue services bring out the injured on stretchers. Kyiv's mayor Vitaly Klitschko says, "We hope that nobody is under the rubble." Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has urged the US and EU nations to come out of the NATO summit in Ankara with strong decisions in support of Ukraine's air defences. Zelensky has repeatedly said his country is short of interceptors for its Patriot defence system, the only effective weapon to shoot down ballistic projectiles. He says the United States and Europe have enough strength to stop this terror. Anna Cunningham, CBC News, London.
China has carried out a rare long-range ballistic missile test. It was launched from a submarine in the South Pacific. The move is drawing protests from countries in the region, but Beijing is deflecting the criticism. A spokesperson for the Foreign Ministry calls the test launch a routine exercise. She says it was not aimed at any country. Previously, China has carried out 2 missile tests since 1980. Police in the Philippines have arrested a senator. Senator Rodante Marcoleta is charged under the country's anti-corruption laws. He is the latest member of the upper legislative chamber to be arrested in just several weeks. Marcoleta is accused of plunder. He allegedly amassed huge amounts of money through criminal acts. In the Philippines, a charge of plunder does not allow bail. Marcoleta denies any wrongdoing. Deep-sea researchers are preparing for a shipwreck dive later this week. The Royal Canadian Geographical Society will be testing new technology during the expedition. And as Peter Cowan tells us, they're also hoping to make history.
Roger, heading down to 100 meters.
It's the first time the crew of the ship Atlantis has used this remotely operated vehicle, or ROV. They're looking at sea anemones on the ocean floor just off Nova Scotia. This is a test. Dwight Coleman is Director of Imaging with the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution.
It's really important for us to practice the launch and recovery sequence to make sure we're doing it safely and operationally sound, and to also test the camera system for the first time on the ROV.
It didn't all go to plan. At one point, all the screens went blank. They couldn't control the ROV.
It's a nerve-wracking experience because you're not quite sure immediately what went wrong, and so you're trying to figure things out.
They did figure it out. It was just a tripped breaker. They fixed it for later this week when they'll dive down to Quest. It's the last ship that explorer Ernest Shackleton took to the Antarctic. He died on board. Years later, during a seal hunt, it sank off the coast of Labrador. 2 years ago, the Royal Canadian Geographic Society found it with sonar. David Mearns is a professional shipwreck hunter who helped locate the ship.
The team on board have got the skills to be able to come back from it, solve whatever problems we have. That's one of the reasons why we have a test dive.
The ROV will capture the first images ever of this wreck, completing a 3D digital model. Peter Cowan, CBC News, on board Atlantis, off the coast of Nova Scotia.
And that is the latest national and international news from World Report. News anytime, cbcnews.ca. I'm Marcia Young.
Good morning, Manitoba. I'm Marcy Marcusa, live in our CBC studio downtown in Winnipeg, where there's rain on the window. Not great news for Manitoba, where more is coming. Thanks for being with us. This is Information Radio, your morning show on 89.3 FM, 990 AM on the app and YouTube. We have a severe thunderstorm yellow watch for Winnipeg, Brandon, and Gimli, and we're talking about a lot more rain. So some risk this morning of a thunderstorm, and then late today we could see 50 to 70 millimeters of rainfall. Manitoba's second largest city, Brandon, has declared a state of emergency because of the overflowing Assiniboine. It peaks on July 12th. So the mayor of Brandon has a busy week ahead. He's going to join us live in a few minutes here to tell us about the latest. Sioux Valley Dakota Nation in Westman has also declared a state of emergency. So we're certainly going to cover the weather this hour. Also, it is music festival season in drier parts of the province. We're going to talk more about a ticket giveaway that might help put a smile on your face in these stormy days. So stay tuned. That's coming up at 7:40. We launch a contest today. Let's go to Heather Wells for other details on these stories and more. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, 2 senior health executives earned close to $2 million last year, despite only working for 1 month. Records show Lynette Saragusa earned nearly $1 million in 2025 as the former CEO of Shared Health before she was replaced. Mike Nader, who briefly headed up the Winnipeg Regional Health Authority, earned more than $725,000. Both had been appointed to their roles by the previous PC government. Well, people flocked to Corden Avenue yesterday as part of that street closed down to cars welcoming people in on foot instead. It was the first summer Sunday where that 4-block stretch closed. We'll hear how it went in our next local news coming up at 7:30.
All right, thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
And Abby, more on the weather?
Yeah, we're looking at thunderstorm watch in effect for southern Manitoba. This is covering the Red River, the Pembina Valley, the Westman, the Interlake region. We're tracking this cold front moving through sometime this evening and overnight. That will be bringing severe storms capable of producing heavy, rain, and even we might spot some hail in some parts of the province. While up north, we're tracking smoke in the air. So the air quality, there's this air quality warning in place for regions around Lynn Lake and Tudula Lake due to the wildfire smoke in that part of the province. But for the Red River Valley region this morning, Winnipeg, we're looking at cloudy morning, light rain showers spotted here and there. We're tracking lightning and thunderstorms at the airport and this morning. This should clear before we see a mix of sun and clouds. Current temperatures hovering between 21 and 23 depending on where you are in the city, with windy conditions heading to a humid high of 27, and that's what we're seeing across most regions in the south this morning. Already close to 22 in some areas, and we're going to see tracking towards a high of 29 in some areas. But up north, it's more about 14s to 17s, and though the smoke is really impacting that Lynn Lake area and towards Tudula Lake this morning, so take it easy there. Winnipeg, we are aiming for a high close to, let's just say 26 today.
It's pretty sticky. So that smoke you mentioned, Abby, is actually created a bit of a warning as well. So around Tudula and Lynn Lake, be careful because there's an air quality warning in effect. So we don't have anything major to tell you about in traffic. Obviously, if you're driving in Winnipeg, you're going to know it's wet. There's puddles. If you're pedestrian, you're going to want to bring an umbrella out. Our studio window folks with umbrellas. If you're on a bike, you're going to get wet. Change of clothes. It's that kind of warning with this risk of a storm in our midst. On the highways, just check. Obviously, with the flooding conditions, you're going to have highway sections that are closed in the different regions. So just be careful with that. And if you do spot an area that you're not aware of, just don't take a chance and make sure you turn back. But 511 has the full maps, and they are updated accordingly. So check it out before you head out. And call us if you have anything to pass along that we can share with the rest of Information Radio's audience and the listeners this morning. That number on our CBC commuter line is 788-3093. So I don't know about you, but I was pretty sleepy this morning, but it was for a completely ridiculous reason. I was up scratching mosquito bites. I was in my front yard over the weekend, and I didn't have repellent on, and I should have known better or to cover up. I just have so many mosquito bites. I think there's 20 of them. I've seen people buzzing around online talking about the fact that they feel like they're bigger this year, they're everywhere, that their bites are more itchy than usual and really welting up. Whether that's true or not, we have no scientific basis to say right now. I can't tell you. However, there's sure a lot of people talking about skeeters, so we're going to as well. Coming up at 7:45 this morning, dump it, drain it, or cover it. Those are three of the tips that you've likely heard before from a local entomologist for preventing even more mosquitoes from calling our yards home. So stay tuned. We're going to talk to him. That's coming up at 7:45 this morning to find out more about how we can battle against the mosquitoes. Well, spoiler alert here, and hopefully I'm not spoiling your plans. I just mentioned that we were going to launch a contest at 7:40. But we, full disclosure, are having a challenge getting the mayor of Brandon on the line, and that's just fine because it's busy times for him. So we'll continue to try to reach Jeff Fawcett about the flooding situation. And that leaves us with a moment to launch our contest. So a lot of us have musical memories, whether it's a great night out at a local club or the folk or jazz fests, the Burt Block Party downtown in Winnipeg, maybe Country Fest or even back in the day Sunfest. Well, tap into what musical memories are coming up for you right now and listen up. CBC Manitoba is proud to sponsor the Salamander Summer Fest in Brandon, the Salamander Summer Music Festival in Brandon. Now, it's coming up July 17th to 19th. Hopefully, everything's going to be dried out by then. It's in Rideau Park, and it celebrates prairie music, food, art, and culture. And if you want to go, it's family-friendly, and all you have to do is email or call the Information Radio listener line and share your favorite musical moment. So that's what we're looking for. You could win a pair of weekend passes to the Salamander Summer Music Fest. So call the listener line at 204-788-3205, or you can email win@cbc.ca and share your story. And the winner will be contacted on July 10th. So good luck. We're going to choose a winner at random. You have 5 days you have until 5 o'clock today to enter, until 5 today to get your first entries in. And cbc.ca/Manitoba/community has more details on the festival. Well, we have now reached the mayor of Brandon. Hopefully things will be dried out for that festival by the 17th. They certainly are not this morning. The city of Brandon over the weekend declaring a state of emergency. The already swollen Assiniboine River is rising sooner than forecast, even though the peak is July 12th. The water is expected to rise 2.5 meters above the river's capacity. So Jeff Fawcett is now with us, and we thank you for your time on CBC on a really busy day, of course.
Yes. Thanks for having me on.
What do things look like in Brandon this morning?
Well, they're wet. There was rain last night. I don't know exactly what the final numbers are, and more of a concern about the rain in the watershed versus the rain that happened here last night.
Okay. What is the river looking like, and how are you doing? I know over the weekend you were talking about adding height to the dikes in some places and raising them up.
Yeah. So right now, of course, the river is in check. It's over bank, but it's very manageable, like today, but we know it's going to be changing every day quite quickly. There is machinery that's been activated. This is partly because of the state of emergency that we put ourselves in to prevent, greater risk that are going to be on some of our recreation areas, topping up the dike, just not a pile, but enough to keep that 2-foot of freeboard. The Saturday's forecast changed the heights a little bit, and there were some areas that were definitely going to get within that 2-foot of freeboard. And there's also some areas inside the city, very, very few, matter of a few hundred meters here and there, that we might be just doing a little bit of top up on things as well. And other than that, we're monitoring. And again, the state of emergency is in place so that we can act very quickly should things change in any kind of drastic way.
Got it. In terms of the recreational areas, so what area, can you give us an example of what you're trying to protect as you're shoring up?
Okay, so sort of the west end of the city, we have the golf course, which runs right across the river, and on normal days and on normal years, because it's been a bit of a crapo spring and summer so far.
Yep.
But it's a beautiful part of the city. But that dike is actually, it will be very, very, very close right now. So they're going to be putting on some more clay on top of that dike.
Got it.
And then the other end of the city, there is a recreation area that is mostly like soccer fields, cricket fields, and all that. And again, just needs a top up. It's neither of them are quite to the state of the dike that runs throughout the city.
What do residents in Brandon need to know as they're watching? They hear state of emergency and they see the equipment moving in around the dike. What should they know?
You know what? Very conveniently, our residents are very well informed on these high water events. Well, I guess unfortunately as well. Keeping away from the river, keeping away from the dike. But other than that, it is sort of business as usual right now. Mm-hmm. And just to keep themselves really posted to our sort of legitimate media sources. So the City of Brandon website and its own social media, but then again, like yourselves and our local newspaper and such, like the legitimate sources of media. We'll make sure everybody's informed all the time if things are changing. But we don't want to have anybody into a panic. They know that we're working on on everything, and to just go about their business. The next few days will tell a lot, particularly the things that we can't control, like the weather itself.
In the next few days, then, you obviously, one of the things you won't be able to control is this severe thunderstorm watch that is issued for your city, for Brandon, 50 to 70 millimeters of rainfall. And then we have, pardon me, you know what? Corey just said in my ear, Mayor Fawcett, that it just ended, that warning. So that's good news.
I'm standing outside here, and it looks like it could be a nice day.
Yeah, and that risk was for tonight for more storms. So that watch has ended now. So hopefully you guys will have good weather. Do you guys have in Brandon any other residents from other areas, or are you preparing for that? Because Sioux Valley is also, they've declared a state of emergency. The residents are told to get ready in case of evac. So I'm not sure if people have already maybe started to look at Brandon.
So I'm going to get that information probably today, and I'll be in touch with Chief Bone as well. We did actually have some residents from fires up north, but the last of them are leaving to head back home today, which is nice for them. I'm glad they didn't have to be here very long.
Okay. You mentioned, Mayor Fawcett, that the state of emergency allows you to, top up the dike and move around and do some of that. What else does it give you the ability to do? Like when you call that state of emergency, what are the other reasons why you would do that?
Should we need to access private property, should something happen anywhere around the lake, we need to be able to go in on private property and do work. We're able to do that. We can call in sort of the neighbor communities and the private sector like we've done right now to utilize their trucks and equipment. So those kind of things.
All right. And just last, this is the third time you've been through a state of emergency because of high water levels. How does this situation compare to before, just from your estimation, looking out there in Brandon?
They're like from the inside, they're always a little bit nerve-wracking. We know we're doing everything we can. That's been the experience previously. You do count on a lot of things like the weather working and things like that. We're in a bit better spot than historically because, for one thing, we're not building a dike during a flood, which is what we did in 2011. It came just maybe a little bit faster in 2014. So we know what we need to do for prep. We know how to get things ready, and as long as it sort of stays within where it's saying it's going to be, we have a lot of confidence. But again, dealing with weather, dealing with the potential breach on something, we're going to be just monitoring everything as close as possible, and we've got a good team that's been on top of it from day one.
Anyone threatened there in terms of homes this morning in the maybe just outside Brandon and some of those really close areas?
There is a few homes that there's one home in Brandon where the one fellow will come in because his home is diked well in that, but he'll get to the point where he won't be able to access. He won't be able to leave. And other than that, we do have in Cornwallis a few homes just outside of the city that are right along the river, and I know that they're being well watched and taken care of as well.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time this morning, and good luck the rest of the way, and hopefully this change in the weather will hold.
Yes, I agree. Thank you. Take care.
You too. That's Jeff Fawcett, the mayor of the city of Brandon.
On the topics that matter, your voice should be heard.
It looks like this is maybe a one-day blip when farmers across the province need hot and dry.
Radio Noon is where you can voice your take.
In general, it's harder to find a job even if you're educated.
I'm Marjorie Dowhouse. From 12:15 to 1 p.m., Radio Noon opens the phone lines on one important topic.
When I was 5 or 6, my parents gave me seeds and helped me plant them. That was probably close to 70 years ago. And here I am still gardening.
It just brings everyone together. Radio Noon's call-in segment, 204-780-0893. We want to hear from you weekdays on CBC.
Just for some clarity here, I mentioned the yellow watch, the severe thunderstorm watch had ended for Brandon. That is a correct updated information. However, that watch does continue for the possibility of a storm tonight and overnight for Winnipeg and for Gimli. So it could bring us some rain, heavy wind gusts, and some small hail as well. It's 7:25 a.m. on CBC. I'm Marcy Marcusa. Welcome to Monday morning, 89.3 FM, 990 AM on the app and on YouTube. First Monday that we've had a show in July, so welcome to the summer months. Let's get into what's going on in morning sports. Scott Regehr joins us live. Hey, Scott.
Hey there, Marcy.
So it was a bittersweet Sunday for the Bombers. Let's start in the CFL.
Yeah, the sweet bit of it was obviously the victory in the end in Hamilton against the Tiger Cats. Sergio Castillo had a field goal with 21 seconds left that secured that win. But it did come at a cost. Zach Collaros exited with an upper body injury after being sacked by Hamilton's Reggie Stubblefield early in the second quarter. Obviously, Collaros has a history of concussions. He walked off the field, but remained on the sidelines with his helmet on as Taylor Elgersma took over. So what's going to happen with the Bombers, we'll see when it comes to Zach Collaros and his health. They have a game coming up this weekend against the Toronto Argonauts. Bo Levi Mitchell also came out of this game. The star starting quarterback for the Hamilton Tiger Cats came out with an injury. And Mike O'Shea, Winnipeg's coach, was asked what the feeling was with his players with both of these injuries happening.
I think we responded pretty well. I mean, they all understand it's football, and everybody in the game understands how fleeting it can be. So they don't need to be reminded of that over and over again. It's just, they got to be professional, and they got to do their job, and they got to do it as hard and as fast as they can so that they can stay safe too.
There you are. That's Mike Shea talking about the Bombers players after those two injuries. Winnipeg with its first win, though, in 3 games, and gets set for the Toronto Argonauts coming to town on Friday.
So I actually have no idea if you're going to talk about last night's great football match in the World Cup, or if you're going to talk about what's going on with the States, because there's so much drama going on.
Yeah, it's incredible
in the World Cup right now.
Well, you look at the stories developing on the field at Estadio Azteca, one of the toughest arenas in the world to win in. England did just that on the strength of another goal by Harry Kane and 2 by Jude Bellingham yesterday. So Mexico's eliminated. That was all very dramatic. But what took place before it? Norway, on the strength of 2 more goals from Erling Haaland. Just an amazing performance, eliminating Brazil. One was a header. Another one was in close. Just a great performance by Erling Haaland, who's now on 7 goals, tied with Mbappe and Messi. The stars are all shining at the World Cup now. Meanwhile, away from the pitch, Donald Trump intervened on behalf of star American striker Folarin Balogun, whose red card suspension was lifted in a decision that will allow him to play today against Belgium. Balogun, who leads the U.S. with 3 goals in the tournament, Marcy, received the red card for awkwardly stepping on a Bosnian opponent's ankle in the last match. That triggered a 1-game suspension. FIFA reverses its decision, though, leading to praise from Trump and outrage from the international soccer community, including Belgium's coach, Rudy Garcia.
I didn't realize that at FIFA headquarters, July 5th was the equivalent of April 1st in Europe. The Belgian Football Association isn't defending itself, nor is it defending the national team. It's defending football in general. As for me, I'm the coach. I'm going to focus on my team and on the match, regardless of the USA's starting 11. What matters to me is what happens on the pitch and that we win and reach the quarterfinals.
Imagine Belgium's outrage, Marcy, if a Balogun goal tonight leads the U.S. to the quarterfinals at their expense.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be something to watch later on.
Now, Canada's no longer in the World Cup, but we're excelling elsewhere in the sports world.
Yeah, Félix Auger-Aliassime through to the quarterfinals at Wimbledon, where he will play ho-hum Novak Djokovic tomorrow. And then how about Summer McIntosh setting a world record yesterday at the Canadian swimming trials in the 200-meter butterfly. It's the longest, or at least was, the longest-standing individual women's world record in the books. And she's broken another one. She'll continue to compete in Montreal all week long, and we'll be right on top of it.
All right. Thanks a lot, Scott.
You betcha. Scott
Ricker with Morning Sports on CBC. He'll be back tomorrow. And right now it's time for your CBC News from Manitoba.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. Winnipeg and the Red River Valley, also Pembina Valley, and parts of the White Shell under a severe thunderstorm watch right now. We are anticipating a good chance of showers with the risk of a thunderstorm and then a mix of sun and clouds today. The wind becoming northwesterly, a high of 27. Manitoba is spending more money on its U.S. trade office than the NDP government previously disclosed. Details from CBC's Bartley Kivas.
I've got a fairly decent Rolodex.
That's Richard Madden, Manitoba's trade rep to Washington after his appointment in 2025. At the time, the NDP government said the province is spending $800,000 a year on the U.S. trade office. According to documents obtained by CBC News, the province has actually allocated $1 million. A spokesperson for Premier Wab Kinew said that's just a contingency and said the actual cost is $800,000 to $900,000. These figures do not appear in Manitoba's budget. Abhi Khan leads the PC opposition.
Why isn't there a simple line in the budget that says this is what the trade office is going to cost?
Kinew's deputy chief of staff said the trade office budget is embedded within a $28 million line item called grant assistance. Duff Conacher, the co-founder of Democracy Watch, said that is not sufficiently transparent.
The government is showing a dangerously undemocratic level of secrecy and denial of the public's right to know in this situation.
Madden declined comment. Bartley Kivas, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Sioux Valley Dakota Nation has declared a state of emergency due to flood risks. Leadership in that Western Manitoba First Nation made the call Saturday. Chief Jennifer Bone says emergency management staff are monitoring water levels. Nearly 190 people in flood-prone areas were told to get ready in case of evacuation. Some of their homes were being sandbagged over the weekend.
At this time, there's no evacuation order in place. It's just about, preparedness, and if conditions happen to change rapidly, our community members will receive official information immediately.
Bone says leadership is being proactive, and the state of emergency was called to help Sioux Valley prepare. Brandon has also declared a state of emergency. The Assiniboine River is expected to crest later this week. The former CEO of two major health organizations both were paid nearly $2 million, despite having only worked 1 month in 2025. Lynette Siragusa was CEO of Shared Health and was paid nearly $1 million last year before she was replaced. Mike Nader led the Winnipeg Regional Health Authority. He was paid more than $725,000. Both had been appointed by the former Conservative government and were replaced by the NDP government. Sean MacDonald at the Asper School of Business at the University of Manitoba says it's common for incoming governments to replace CEOs appointed by the former government.
And this is an extremely expensive business practice, as we're seeing, to be paying out whatever's left out on the contract of these senior executives.
In a statement, the province says while it cannot discuss individual salaries and work agreements, the total compensation figure would include severance, vacation time, and salary. CBC News has learned Prime Minister Mark Carney is expected to announce this afternoon Canada's favoured pick to build a fleet of a dozen new submarines. Shipbuilders from Germany and South Korea are competing for the contract to replace Canada's aging Victoria-class subs. Between acquisition and maintenance costs, the price tag could total around $100 billion. A Russian missile and drone strike in Ukraine has killed at least 18 people. One drone hitting an apartment building in Kyiv. Russia's military confirms it carried out attacks on military and industrial targets and energy sites in the Kyiv region. You can hear the latest national and international news coming up on World Report at 8. Well, Winnipeggers took to Corridon Avenue yesterday, leaving their cars at home, just walking. The Open Corridon initiative runs until early September. Neil Hamilton lives in the area.
It makes sense. I don't know. Like Montreal does stuff like this, and I love Montreal, and I love Winnipeg. I've lived here my whole life, and the thought of being able to do that here, I think it's a great thing.
Hamilton hopes to see even more people in the area on Sundays as the event grows over the summer. That 4-block stretch of Corridon from Daly to Lilac will be closed from 10 in the morning until 8 in the evening on Sundays. Well, the Bombers clawed their way to a win against the Tiger Cats last night.
And it's Pokey Wilson! Touchdown! On the first offensive play they have after the break. Into the end zone. Winnipeg answers.
Winnipeg edging out the Tiger Cats in Hamilton 14-13. Both teams' quarterbacks had to leave the game injured. Stepping in for Zach Collaros was Taylor Elgersma. Coach Mike O'Shea.
I'm excited for him. I thought he handled himself very well. I thought there's some, conditions that happen in a game that can make it even tougher, and I thought he battled through it.
The Bombers now head home to host the Argos on Friday. You can find the latest news updated throughout the day at cbc.ca/Manitoba.
All right, thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
Heather Wells live in our news center, 7:36 a.m. Here's Abby with the weather.
Yeah, Marcy, we're still tracking those severe thunderstorm watch out for the Red River and the Pembina Valley region this morning, and even into the Interlake region. While if you look up north, we still have wild smoke fire really triggering this air quality alert across the Lynn Lake area and towards Tuduli Lake. Though down south, it's more about the humid conditions and the rain. For Winnipeg right now, look outside. We got rain falling already at 21. We're tracking thunderstorms at the airport at this time. Also light rain falling there. Windy conditions will develop from the south, and then it's going to shift towards the northwest later, becoming gusty at some point this afternoon. And this will push our daytime high to about 27. But with the humidex factored in, it's going to feel close to 33 degrees. And then we expect the skies to clear sometime this afternoon into the evening period before we drop to about 14. Across the south, we're looking at 21 degrees already at this time around the Morden area, warming to 29. Late morning storms in the forecast there. And then for the Brandon towards the Nipoa area, we're seeing cloudy conditions there and already clearing to a beautiful day. 19 at this time, warming to 28 later. Dauphin towards the Roblin area, light rain falls in that part of the province. 18 degrees at this time, warming to 28. And then we'll see some clearing this afternoon. Gimli is sitting at 19 with some morning storms in the forecast before we see sun and clouds make its way through sometime in the afternoon, warming to 27. Up north, we're looking at 17 degrees around the Power Flin Flon. We'll see a high of 22 there. Thompson, Norway House, partly cloudy conditions. We're seeing 16s there. We will see a high of 24 later in the day. There's a slim chance of afternoon showers in the forecast. Then we look towards Lynn Lake, where we have this smoky and sunny day there. 15 degrees at this time, warming to only 18 degrees. Gillam sits at 17 under partly cloudy skies, reaching a high of 25. And then for the Tuduli Lake area, we see cloudy conditions and, of course, the smoke in the air there at 14 degrees. For the Churchill region, we're looking at sunny conditions, 17 degrees right now. We're tracking it to a daytime high of 22. So it's more about active summer weather across the province this morning. We're looking at storm watch to the south and smoke alert to the northern part of the province. Winnipeg, we're warming to 27, but it's going to feel close to 33. It's 21 right now.
I wonder if that stickiness, it's 21 now, so it has. Yeah. Since you and I came in this morning, it's we had the temperature change. It's now pouring in downtown Winnipeg. It actually just picked up while you were talking.
Oh, mercy.
Yeah.
And it's not. This is not the rain that's going to cool anything off.
Yeah, so here it comes. Let's get into the morning commute. Thanks, Abby. Here's Corey in studio.
And that rain that we've already had, of course, causing issues on the highways northwest of Riding Mountain National Park. That whole area there around Duck Mountain Provincial Park, around Roblin, Swan River, of course, as well, Minnetonka. And then as far east as Camperville area, a lot of those highways there are red on Manitoba 511, which means they're closed because of all that flooding that's happened in the area. So if you're hitting the highway around there today, you do want to check the Manitoba 511 map because most of the highways actually in that area are closed right now. Other than that, though, here in the city, of course, wet, looking for hydroplaning. If you see anything else, though, if you're walking, biking, driving, give me a call. That number, 204-788-3093.
All right. Thanks, Corey Funk.
Thank you.
It is time to talk about mosquitoes. With rain in this province comes mosquitoes, and they're pretty nasty already. Taz Stewart's a local entomologist and the owner of Taz Pest Control, and here to remind us what we're supposed to do to not have them biting us. Hi.
Hi there. How are you doing this fine morning?
I'm itchy. I was up last night. I think I got 20 mosquito bites in an hour and a half in my front flower bed. I should have covered up and put spray on.
Well, there you go. You said it right there. Personal protection is key.
I know. We hear about the water thing, obviously, all the time, but how much of a difference does it actually make? Like, even if there's a little bit of standing water in like a planter or something?
Yeah. So don't joke when I say this. Any standing water in your backyard can produce hundreds of mosquitoes. And those mosquitoes are the ones going to be biting you. And that's key that you clean up your backyard, dump it, drain it, fill it, cover it, and of course, treat it. There are products people can buy, domestic ones. BTI is our friend, just like the city uses as well. And that's going to keep you protected and make sure your neighbors follow the same suit.
Can we not have a bird bath then, or what do we do with that?
Oh, no, of course you can. It's just to make sure you can see what larvae look like. when they're in the water, they're doing this. That's mosquito larvae, and you don't want those. So dump it for sure. And if you can treat it or fill it with dirt, low spots, it's very, very important to do that. Backyard control program, your gutters, your anything that can hold water can produce mosquitoes in little as 3 to 7 days, just depending on temperatures.
And doing this, we're on Zoom this morning, so you're like wiggling your finger around. So if you notice something wiggling in your bird bath, I mean, that's a telltale sign. Do those do those screens work, Taz, to keep the mosquitoes from breeding?
Okay, so that's a great question. Larval sites are the water sites. Breeding is where the males are partying in the air. The female flies in, she gets bred there, and then she lays her eggs after she had a blood meal.
Okay, so there's screens that we can put, I think, on our rain barrels that will help.
Yep, 100%. As long as it's the fine screen, yes, 100%.
Got it. What about the additives? Because people might be worried about if you add something to the water, is it safe for the birds, or what do you have to worry about with other wildlife?
Well, that's the thing. When you're saying additives, are you saying bleach? No, that's not a good thing for other animals. But yes, it will kill mosquitoes, assuming you're not using that water to, let's just say with the rain this morning right now, you don't need any bleach, but hey, it's something you want to look at.
Got it. If you're in a suburban backyard, what's the thing that people mostly forget about? I'm guessing we all remember to dump our planters out, but what's the thing we mostly forget about where there's standing water?
Well, I hate to say it, your rain gutters right now, you get enough vegetation in there that will hold the water back. You need to be looking at those. That's one of the sites that lots of people don't look at. So it's very, very important to do that. Again, going around, checking those spots. If there's water there and it's been there for more than, 5-7 days, you probably will have mosquitoes developing there and then becoming those adults that are going to come out and feed on you.
How effective are biological larvicides? Like there's products under names like mosquito dunks, I think, and such we can use.
Yep, 100%. Those things last approximately 21 days, and you can put them in there, and they can dry out and be refilled and still be useful for a longer period of time. But if it is a water body that's kind of permanent, they'll last 21 days-ish of releasing the BTI, which is very specific for mosquito larvae.
Okay, so it's pretty much putting BTI in my rain barrel water, though, which I need to be aware of, because if you take that water and water your tomatoes, you're putting the BTI in your tomatoes, right?
Yep, exactly. And BTI will also kill small fly. It's a nice bonus. With it, it isn't registered for more than just mosquito larvae, and it is a benefit.
Do you like any of the new tech things that are sort of, people get skeptical about, like things like mosquito patches, bracelets, there's battery-operated shields? Do these things work?
The sad part is, yes, they do. They are registered in Canada for a reason. The PMRA has provided that registration, but it all depends on conditions. So if you're in a windy spot or an open spot, it's not going to work as well if you're in a nice calm spot. So, the Thermacells, I guess I shouldn't say brand names, but there are products out there when there is no wind, they work great. So find a good spot, be in that corner spot in your backyard, put a fan in front of you, blowing the other way. And it works well. It's just perfect, like the Thermacells.
Thanks for being with us this morning, Taz. This rain will bring some more of the bugs, so appreciate your time.
Always fun. Thank you.
Take care. That's Taz Stewart, local entomologist and owner of Taz Pest Control. Right now it is 7:45 a.m.
On the topics that matter, your voice should be heard.
It looks like this is maybe a one-day blip when farmers across the province need hot and dry.
Radio Noon is where you can voice your take.
In general, it's harder to find a job even if you're educated.
I'm Marjorie Dowhouse. From 12:15 to 1 p.m., Radio Noon opens the phone lines on one important topic.
When I was 5 or 6, my parents gave me seeds and helped me plant them. That was probably close to 70 years ago. And here I am still gardening.
It just brings everyone together. Radio Noon's call-in segment, 204-780-0893. We want to hear from you weekdays on CBC.
Still ahead in this half hour of the program, as you might have heard in the news, few Manitobans would fault their government for investing in a U.S. trade office. But we're sharing this morning, as CBC's reporting, Manitoba never has disclosed what we're actually spending on that trade office. The Bartley Kivas, CBC reporter, has the details on the actual tab, and he's going to join us still ahead in this half hour of the show. Next, earlier in the program this morning, we launched a contest to win tickets to the Salamander Music Festival coming up in Brandon. Hopefully things will dry out for that. July 17th to 19th in Rideau Park, celebrating prairie food, music, art, and culture. And you could win a pair of weekend passes to the Salamander Summer Music Festival. All you have to do is call us with your musical memory. Could be from a festival, could be from something else. Whatever musical memory you have. 788-3205 or win@cbc.ca. We're going to take entries all week. We will announce the winner Friday. So get those entries in and those memories in. We'll try to share some on the air, and we will choose at random who's heading off to the festival to see a whole bunch of artists, including Kate's Outlaw. Here they are with Buffalo Runner on 89.3 FM, 990 AM. We're on your CBC Listen app.
I was born at the forks where no king has reigned on the eastern edge of the greatest plains. Time to cold, unfruitful ground my people play. We head southwest in June. I'm wearing beads and quills. The crooked fiddle tunes are drowned out still by the wooden carts on the ground they coronate. And I'll run with endless heart, but the rider's got a higher power. We'll charge into the sea of beasts. We're gonna lay 'em down. 4,000 hooves come down on the Red River ground, makes a sound that rivals all the thunder. I'm a buffalo runner. Brushes came to blows at the Grand Coteau. We had to circle the line on the trail we know. Another test by the Sioux in 1852. My rider won't pick up his reins. He reloads on the run. I got my ears pinned back by the swing of his gun. It was in my time that the great Northwest was won. 'Cause I run with endless heart, but the rider's got a higher power. His iron sights fixed on the beast. We're gonna lay 'em down. 4,000 hooves come down on the Red River ground, makes a sound that rivals all the thunder. I'm a buffalo runner. We've traveled further down than we've gone before. Without a sign of the beast we were searching for. The July sun descending, we march on. And I run with endless heart, 'cause I'm guided by a higher power. We'll charge into the sea of beasts. We're gonna lay 'em down. 4,000 hooves come down on the Red River ground, makes a sound that rivals all the thunder. I'm a buffalo runner. I'm a buffalo runner.
Kate's Outlaw, one of the headliners of the Salamander Music Festival in Brandon, coming up mid-month, and Buffalo Runner. Up next on CBC, ever since Donald Trump returned to the White House, U.S. trade has been a big concern for Canada. Manitoba's NDP government recognized this early on. In 2025, it appointed Richard Madden, a former broadcaster, as a new trade representative to the United States, based in Washington, D.C. But the province never gave Manitobans the full picture of what the new office would look like and would cost. CBC's Bartley Kivas has been following the story and joins us now in studio with some new information. Good morning.
Good morning.
So let's go back, remind us of our trade representative, Richard Madden. What's his role? What does he do?
He's a former CTV and CBC reporter. He has extensive contacts in Washington, and his job involves talking to American politicians and business leaders and reminding them of the mutually beneficial trade relationship between Manitoba and our neighbors to the south. Madden was appointed in June 2025. He works out of the Canadian Embassy in Washington, along with an administrative assistant. And ever since his appointment, the NDP government has maintained his office had an annual budget of $800,000.
Okay, so is that in fact the annual budget, $800,000?
No, Marcy. It's higher. CBC News has obtained documents that show the annual allocation for the U.S. Trade Office is $200,000 more. It's $1 million a year. We obtained an advisory to Premier Wabkanu last August, which pegged the annual allocation at $1 million. We also obtained email correspondence between senior provincial officials this January. It also pegs, that correspondence pegs the budget at $1 million. So we asked to interview the Premier, Finance Minister Adrian Sala, or Business, Mining and Trade Minister Jamie Moses about this disjunction, but the government declined our interview requests.
So what did they say, if anything, then about the higher cost?
Amy Tuckett-McGimsey, the communications director for the NDP cabinet, she said in a statement that $1 million is a contingency. The trade office was new for the 25-26 fiscal year, she said, so it wasn't clear what it would cost. She also said the actual annual budget is $800,000 to $900,000, but that range is nowhere to be found in provincial budget documents. In fact, there is no single line item for the U.S. Trade Office anywhere in the budget. Progressive Conservative leader Abhi Khan says that's a problem.
When you ask them about items in the budget, they won't comment on them, they won't report on them, they won't give you the full facts. What are they hiding? Why isn't there a simple line in the budget that says this is what the trade office is going to cost, this is what we budgeted for?
Now, since this office was created in the middle of the 2025-26 budget year, it's not a big deal the spending wasn't in last year's budget. That budget was tabled before Madden was appointed, but we are now in a new fiscal year, so we asked the province where the line item is. Rebecca Whitcomb, Wabkanu's deputy chief of staff, said the funding is embedded within a $28 million allocation for grant assistance within the economic programs budget for Manitoba's spending on investment and trade. She did not say why the U.S. Trade Office is classified as grant assistance. So we spoke to Duff Conacher, the co-founder of Democracy Watch. That's a nonprofit organization in Ottawa that advocates for government transparency and accountability.
Government budgets often do not provide enough detail for the public to be judging very specific programs or initiatives. And that should always be a concern by the public because the devil is in the details, and that's where the waste is found.
So if the budget is $900,000 or the allocation is $1 million, as you outlined here, do we know what we're spending on what?
Well, that's a question we've been trying to answer ever since Madden was appointed. The government initially said Madden's salary was $387,000 Canadian, but that wasn't the case. My colleague Kristen Annabelle obtained a copy of Madden's signed contract. She filed a Freedom of Information request. Now, that contract shows Madden is supposed to receive $482,000 a year in consulting fees and is also eligible for up to $51,000 a year in hospitality, diplomacy, and out-of-pocket expenses. Kristen Annabelle filed a number of other Freedom of Information requests asking for a further breakdown of U.S. Trade Office costs. All of those responses have been delayed or denied, but then we obtained documents that reveal some of the details. Email correspondence shows Madden's assistant makes $143,000 a year, and the rent at the Canadian Embassy for Madden and the assistant is $221,000 a year. When my colleague asked for that rent information, she was told the province couldn't disclose it because that would harm our relationship with the federal government. Duff Conacher wasn't impressed.
The government is showing a dangerously undemocratic level of secrecy and denial of the public's right to know in this situation.
Now, when you add up everything we know from the documents we have obtained, the salaries, expenses, and rent in Washington add up to almost $900,000. What we don't have is any official breakdown from the NDP government. Again, our request to interview the Premier, Minister Sala, and Minister Moses were denied.
All right, Bartley, thank you for coming in with the numbers in the story.
You're welcome.
So that is CBC reporter Bartley Kivas. You can read the story with Kristen Annable on our website at cbc.ca/Manitoba. You can read the story he produced with Kristen Annable. Coming up on the program after 8 o'clock on the show, we are going to be talking about doctors and why they're reminding the public to seek medical attention immediately after coming in contact with bats. So this after a major medical journal shared the story of an 11-year-old Ontario boy who died of rabies after waking up with a bat on his face. We're going to talk to a local expert on the animal about bats in Manitoba and about this latest case as well. So stay tuned for that. That's after 8. Right now we're coming up to 3 minutes to 8 o'clock. Just a reminder that around Tuduli Lake and Lynn Lake, we have issues with the air quality due to the smoke. So there's a watch in effect to that effect. There's also a yellow level watch still for severe thunderstorms in this morning's and in this evening's forecast as well. So this morning it continues to rain in downtown Winnipeg, and then later today we are expecting a mix of sun and cloud, and then a risk of a severe thunderstorm. A risk of some more rain moving in this evening. So we're going to watch what happens. Here a high of 27 with humidex 32, very wet. So Brandon, the thunderstorm risk has been lifted for you now, which is good news. Gimli, you are still expecting you could get a lot more rain. 23 right now. Winnipeg is the hot spot in the province, and Heather Wells is here with other headlines.
Well, Sioux Valley Dakota Nation in western Manitoba has declared a state of emergency because of rising floodwaters. Chief Jennifer Bone says the ground is already saturated in some flood-prone parts of the community. Nearly 190 people have been told to get ready in case of evacuation. Over the weekend, the city of Brandon also declaring a state of emergency. 2 senior health executives earned close to $2 million last year, despite only having worked for 1 month. Records show Lynette Siragusa earned nearly $1 million in 2025 as the former CEO of Shared Health before she was replaced. Mike Nader, who briefly headed up the Winnipeg Regional Health Authority, earned more than $275,000. Both had been appointed to their roles by the previous PC government. I'll be back with more Manitoba news coming up at 8:30.
All right, thanks, Heather. World Report is coming up first, though. It is now 1 minute to 8 o'clock. Stay tuned for the top of the clock here. And if you need to reach us with any news in the commute, you can call 788-3093. Just a reminder to check 511 before you head out in case highways in flooded areas or provincial roads are washed out. I noticed in downtown Winnipeg, somebody with a backpack and a hard hat sort of attached to the backpack, headed to some kind of a job site, getting rained on. Didn't even worry about an umbrella, probably thinking, well, through the day working somewhere with the hard hat on, you're going to get wet anyway. Hopefully midday it'll dry out a little for us here in the city. Stay with us. More still ahead, as I mentioned. World Report at the top of the clock. It's 1 minute to 8 now on 89.3.
I'm Ali Hassan, sitting in for Tom Power. Evanescence helped define rock music in the early 2000s, thanks in part to frontwoman Amy Lee's unforgettable voice. Amy will be here to look back on the music that changed her life and to talk about finding new creative spark with their brand new record.
Q, this morning at 10:30 in Newfoundland, and on CBC Listen, or wherever you get your podcasts. The CBC News is next. Coming up in half an hour, it's The Current.
I'm Catherine Cullen. The uncertainty about North American trade means businesses aren't spending, and that in turn means consumers aren't spending. What all of this trade trouble means for the economy and you, coming up on The Current.
This is World Report. Good morning. I'm Marcia Young. A decision by FIFA is rocking the World Cup. The tournament's governing body reversed a red card suspension for U.S. star Folarin Balogun. The U.S. will play Belgium in Seattle today. U.S. President Donald Trump made a phone call to FIFA's president and changed Balogun's fate. CBC's Katie Nicholson has been following the story for us from Washington. And Katie, walk us through the controversy here.
Okay, so this is a huge shock across the soccer world. U.S. player Folarin Balogun's red card, that one-game suspension, just put on ice by FIFA ahead of today's big U.S.-Belgium match. Balogun is one of the U.S.'s top players. He was supposed to sit this knockout match out after a really nasty-looking tackle in last Wednesday's game, basically that ejected him. So multiple news outlets are reporting that the U.S. president called FIFA president Gianni Infantino about that call. It's the kind of tackle that often analysts have suggested sees players ejected from games in European leagues. Yesterday, FIFA, in an extraordinary decision, tossed the red card, the one-game suspension, out. Trump posted on social media an acknowledgement of that decision, saying thank you to FIFA for doing what was right and reversing a great injustice. And this reversal, just highly unusual, doesn't appear like a call like this to hold off on a suspension has happened within FIFA since the early 60s, and it's being met with outrage by parts of the soccer world.
So what exactly is the reaction?
The Royal Belgian Football Association, it says it was astonished. It says that it learned of this decision through media reports, not from FIFA, and then it asked FIFA for a copy of the decision, and it hasn't received any explanation from FIFA. So essentially what they're saying is now they have no alternative but to challenge Balogun's eligibility to play tonight. And there are accusations, of course, of interference by the U.S. president here to get a top U.S. player back on the roster. Worth remembering the lengths to which Infantino has gone to curry favor with the U.S. president, even creating a peace prize for him. So the optics of favoring the last remaining host nation in the tournament being met with criticism in the wake of this decision.
Thank you, Katie.
You're welcome.
The CBC's Katie Nicholson in Washington. Prime Minister Mark Carney will choose Canada's next submarine fleet later today. He's in Halifax for the announcement. It comes on the eve of the NATO summit in Turkey. The new subs will replace the Navy's aging fleet with 12 new patrol vessels. The contract has an expected value of more than $100 billion over its entire lifespan. It is an effort to meet NATO targets of spending 5% of GDP on defense by 2035. A wind-fueled wildfire in British Columbia's Fraser Canyon is growing. The Brunswick Creek fire has ballooned 12-fold in size in the last 48 hours. Several communities are under evacuation orders. Carolyn Sankey lives in Boothroyd First Nation near the fire. Her community was evacuated yesterday.
I'm devastated. I'm tired. I just want to rest.
Meanwhile, residents in Fort Simpson in the Northwest Territories are waiting to return home. They packed their lives into cars and fled to Yellowknife a week ago. The wildfire threatening their town pushed to within 300 meters of their doorsteps this weekend. But fire crews have been working around the clock. Jessica Davey-Quantick has the latest.
We were expecting the worst, right? We were expecting losses of homes.
Mayor Les Wright just returned to Fort Simpson after making sure the majority of residents made it out safely. He got back just in time for flames to come within 300 meters of town. Fire crews, many of whom are from the area, continued working around the clock all weekend.
Still right hard at her, and they are working long days. They're not complaining. They're standing up to the task at hand.
So far, no homes have been lost, although there has been damage to some buildings. NWT Fire Information Officer Forrest Tower says the danger hasn't passed yet, but they're beginning to see a turning point.
We're getting to the point where we're making meaningful progress. For maybe the last week or so, it's been progress, and then we've had huge fire blow-up conditions. We know where the light at the end of the tunnel might be.
It's been a week since residents fled, with many driving over 7 hours on the single highway out of town to reach safety in Yellowknife. Mayor Wright is asking for continued patience.
Nobody can predict how long this is going to last until we're safe to come home.
For now, all the evacuees can do is wait. Jessica Davey-Quantick, CBC News, Yellowknife.
Western India is overwhelmed by monsoon rains, and Mumbai is taking the brunt of the storms. The record-setting rains are creating flooding and landslides. At least 9 people have died. The CBC's Susan Ormiston has more from Mumbai.
Schools and colleges in Mumbai are closed today, the city under red alert, as lashing rain and winds continue for a 6th straight day. Sunday night, a 4-story building collapsed right on top of an adjoining shanty. Maharashtra State Minister Girish Mahajan said 6 people died, including 4 kids. Not since 1975 has South Mumbai faced a day like Saturday with punishing rain, 265 millimeters in 24 hours, and winds whipping up twice as strong as average. 200 trees fell on Sunday alone, killing 2 residents. Last week, a massive one uprooted and fell on a school bus. An 11-year-old boy was killed. Transport is severely disrupted. 2 major highways connecting Mumbai to Pune, an IT hub, are completely blocked because of a landslide. This man in Pune says children were stuck under collapsed trees, but no one came to help. We're struggling to rescue them, he said. In spite of the intensity, meteorologists are predicting monsoon precipitation will come up short of the annual average. A concern when India gets up to 85% of its annual rain during these months. Susan Ormiston, CBC News, Mumbai.
A wave of Russian missiles and drones struck Kyiv overnight. The attack killed at least 11 people and damaged apartment buildings. Russia's defense ministry has confirmed the strikes, saying it used long-range weapons to carry out the attack on Kyiv and other locations. The strikes come on the eve of a NATO summit in Turkey and comes days after at least 31 people were killed in Russian strikes on the capital. At least 25 people have been killed in a prison riot in Sri Lanka. More than 100 others are reportedly injured. Ambulances rushed some of the wounded to hospital. The prison is just north of the capital, Colombo. Police say clashes broke out yesterday and have carried into today. Local media are reporting the victims include both inmates and prison officials. There's no word yet on the cause of the conflict. The New York Times once called Ontario cottage country Malibu North. Muskoka is north of Toronto, but there is trouble in paradise. Developers and some longtime celebrity property owners are at odds over a new housing project. As Kate Rutherford reports, councillors have to vote this afternoon on what to do.
It is just woods, and it's no water access, and no one thought remotely that anyone would ever approve of such a preposterous idea.
That's Canadian actor and comedian Martin Short. He's talking about a proposed housing subdivision behind his summer home on Lake Rosso. It would be called Rosso Springs and would offer under 50 lots for sale. Short says he's not anti-development, but says the subdivision is too densely populated and out of character for the pristine landscape. Planning consultant Leo Deloyd argues there's a market for high-end living, even if it's not waterfront.
The proposal is not for what's called affordable housing, so it'll be people that want to have the experience of living near Rosso Hamlet.
Seguin Township Mayor Ann McDermott says affordable housing is what they need. Staff recommended against changes to pave the way for the subdivision, saying the land is zoned rural and lacks services and infrastructure. And it falls outside the approved settlement areas where it is seeking housing. McDermott says the staff report is bang on.
Housing without any infrastructure, without any plan for build-out in a remote area just doesn't feel right to me.
Regardless, some on council have voiced support, saying the development could bring jobs and an economic boost. Kate Rutherford, CBC News, Sudbury.
And that is the latest national and international news from World Report. News anytime at cbcnews.ca. I'm Marcia Young.
Well, we do have a thunderstorm in Winnipeg right now with some steady rain downtown. It's 21 degrees. Thanks for joining us this Monday morning on CBC. I'm Marcy Marcusa, and this is Information Radio. You're on 89.3 FM, 990 AM on that app and on YouTube, wherever you're joining from. Thanks for being here. Just want to remind everybody to check if you're going out before you commute because of the flooded out areas, especially in Western Manitoba, where you might have a challenge with highways and provincial roads. This hour on the program, an Ontario family waited 3 weeks to take their child to a hospital after an interaction with a bat. The child ended up dying of rabies. Now, what does that story from 2024 tell us and teach us about safety around bats in Manitoba? We'll find out. Also, we'll find out why it's back in the news and been published in a recent medical journal. Plus, we're going to talk with a bit of a heartbroken fan who was in the stands in Houston to watch Team Canada this weekend. They went down 3-0 to Morocco, but he also stayed right through. It was a dream for him and his brother, who had played soccer and still plays soccer here in Manitoba, to be there to watch Team Canada's World Cup appearance. And so he's going to share more with us about what it was like to be in a sea of red and among those thousands of Canadian fans literally marching in to the stadium. So stay tuned for that. Right now, let's go to Heather Wells. She's here with our news headlines. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, Manitoba is spending more money on its Washington Trade Office than the NDP government previously disclosed. The Canoe government pegged the annual budget for that office at $800,000 in 2025. Documents obtained by CBC News show the province has allocated $1 million for a year. A spokesperson for the Premier says it's just contingency. There's no specific line item in Manitoba's budget. Duff Conacher at Democracy Watch says the public should be concerned by the lack of detail in government budgets. And Sioux Valley Dakota Nation in western Manitoba has declared a state of emergency due to rising floodwaters. Chief Jennifer Bone says nearly 190 people have been told to prepare in case of evacuation. The city of Brandon over the weekend also declaring a state of emergency. I'll be back with more Manitoba news coming up at 8:30.
All right. Thanks, Heather.
Thanks.
We spoke to the mayor of Brandon earlier in the program this morning. So it sounds like at least right now things are okay there. They're just taking the state of emergency opportunity to shore up some diking and such to protect some recreational areas. The forecast is really not cooperating, Abby.
Not cooperating at all, Marcy. That's why we have this severe thunderstorm watch active for parts of southern Manitoba. And if you look towards the south, we're seeing this rain, especially in the Red River Valley region this morning. And also you might notice traces outside of the city. And if you look up north, we have the yellow air quality warning in place in effect for Lynn Lake and the Tuduli Lake area due to that fluctuating wildfire smoke impacting the region. But here in Winnipeg, we have rain falling, thunderstorms to follow. Then we'll see a mix of sun and clouds. We warm up to 27 later, but currently we're looking at temperatures close to 22 in the city. And that's the situation across most regions in the south. But up north, it's more calm, except for the smoke present in some regions there, topping out at 25 later. Winnipeg, we're looking at 21 right now, and we're aiming for 27. And there's just that warm watch for the thunderstorm for the region.
All right. Thanks, Abby.
Thank you.
Let's get into the commute with Corey.
So the biggest issue right now, heard from Kathy, the lights are flashing red at Salter and Dufferin, and southbound traffic on Salter there's backed up about 4 blocks, she said. So very slow going there. Look out for that. Treat that as a 4-way stop, obviously. Other than that, though, the other major issue is, of course, the highways in kind of northwest of Riding Mountain there, in and around Duck Mountain Provincial Park. Because of all the floodings, there is lots of highways closed right now around Swan River, just outside Roblin as well, even as far east as Camperville. So just heads up around those areas. You want to check Manitoba 511 before you hit the highways this morning. Lots of closed highways around there. And if you see anything else, though, you can give me a call on the CBC commuter line. That number, 204-788-3093.
Well, up next on the show, this is certainly something I've come across in our province before, bats. But bat safety is in the news again after, as I mentioned, a rabies case from the 2024 year was recently detailed in the Canadian Medical Association Journal. Now, the article talks about a cottage in Ontario where an 11-year-old boy awoke with a bat on his nose. He reportedly swatted it away. His family captured the bat in a pot. They released it outside. They did not seek medical attention immediately because the animal didn't leave a scratch or any bite marks. Now, it also wasn't behaving erratically. But then 3 weeks later, the boy was brought to the ER with tingling, numbness, and swelling on the right side of his face. His neurological condition deteriorated in the following days, and sadly, he later died in the hospital. As I mentioned, this was 2024. Now, doctors confirmed it was because of the rabies virus. But it's back in a recent medical journal. In this season of camping and exploring, we thought we would explore this from a Manitoba perspective. Craig Willis is with us, professor of biology with the University of Winnipeg and the head of the Willis Bat Lab. Good morning.
Hi, Marcy. Thanks for the interest.
So, how rare is it for a bat to have rabies?
That's a great question. It's rare, but it definitely occurs. We don't have a great handle on how many bats just flying around in the environment have rabies. Of those that are submitted, though, for rabies testing that people have found maybe acting strangely or found in their homes, it's a low percentage. It's probably below 10% of those animals. So most of the animals that are submitted of all mammal species to the Canadian Food Inspection Agency for rabies testing test negative.
In terms of the varieties of bats in Manitoba, I mean, how many varieties do we have, and where are you most likely to find bats in our province?
For sure, yeah, we have 6 species in Manitoba. 3 of those we're very unlikely to encounter. They roost almost exclusively in trees. The other 3, 2 of the other 3 species, the really imaginatively named little brown bat and big brown bat, sometimes roost in buildings. And so those are the species that humans are most likely to encounter. Those are the ones that are very likely the species that led to this sad case in Ontario.
How might a bat get rabies in the first place, and can they all carry it?
That's a great question. Yes, they can get it. There is a circulating sort of variant of bat rabies virus out there. In Manitoba, it's actually not the most important reservoir of rabies. Skunks in Manitoba seem to be the mammals that most often test positive for rabies, but bats have their own strain that circulates around. Different species can transmit to other species. That's usually a dead end, though. So if a skunk bites a bat or vice versa, that's usually not going to lead to any further spillover. It's usually a dead end. So when a bat has direct contact with someone's skin, that's why I think this article really does a great job emphasizing why it's important to seek medical advice right away.
It's interesting because, of course, the most of us might think about the scratching aspect. And in this article, it talks about the parents not noticing scratches or bites. And they also said the bat wasn't behaving oddly, which might be something that, somebody would look for if an animal had rabies. How is rabies transferred if not through a bite then?
Well, it almost certainly was transmitted through saliva. That's how it's almost always transmitted. The fact the bat was on the boy's face and contact with mucous membranes by saliva is one way that it can be transmitted. Bats are also tiny. So a little brown bat weighs just a little bit more than a loonie, and sometimes they can scratch the skin or bite the skin without any evidence of that bite or scratch being left, and that certainly could have happened in this case. Anytime a child who can't explain the situation is found in a room with a bat, I would recommend that you seek medical advice. If someone wakes up in a room with a bat and flying around, I'd also recommend they seek medical advice. That's not to scare people of bats. The chance of dying from bat rabies in Canada is about 10 times less likely than dying from being struck by lightning. There have only been 28 cases since the 1920s in Canada. I've looked through the literature. I don't think a Manitoban has ever died from bat rabies. So this is incredibly rare, but rabies, once you show symptoms, is always fatal. So it's not something to mess around with.
Thank you for being with us this morning and responding to this case. As you said, we do have bats in our province, so important to know how to behave around them and some of the advice about getting checked, but not to fear the animals as well. Appreciate your time, Craig. Thank you.
Thanks, Marcy.
That's Craig Willis with us live on Zoom, professor of biology with the University of Winnipeg and head of the Willis Bat Lab.
On the topics that matter, your voice should be heard.
It looks like this is maybe a one-day blip when farmers across the province need hot and dry.
Radio Noon is where you can voice your take.
In general, it's harder to find a job even if you're educated.
I'm Marjorie Dowhouse. From 12:15 to 1 p.m., Radio Noon opens the phone lines on one important topic.
When I was 5 or 6, my parents gave me seeds and helped me plant them. That was probably close to 70 years ago. And here I am still gardening.
It just brings everyone together. Radio Noon's call-in segment, 204-780-0893. We want to hear from you weekdays on CBC.
It is 8:21 a.m. right now on 89.3 FM. I'm Marcy Marcuso. Wet Monday morning. Big week ahead, right? The kids are home. It's the first full week where you've got all the family home, no school anymore. Also, no soccer for Team Canada men's team. They did lose 3-0 to Morocco on Saturday afternoon, but they put up a fight in the first half at least. And what an exciting time to be at the game, win or lose. Scott Smoke was one of the Winnipeggers who was at the game with his brother watching Team Canada face Morocco. He was in Houston, and Scott says he has wanted to see a game like this for his whole life. He still plays soccer with the Manitoba Major Soccer League. He's home from Houston now, but we wanted to find out about the experience as a fan, and so we reached him at 8 o'clock.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm well. What was it like at the beginning of the game when Canada came out and was playing really well?
Oh yeah, it was super exciting. There were lots of Canadian fans there. I think we felt like once we got control of that first half, that we were more than happy just to be there, and we felt like we had a genuine chance to win the game. It was quite exciting in the stadium.
No doubt. Morocco ultimately did find their feet in footy. They did come back. They've been playing amazing in the tournament. And Canada, our FIFA experience ended. A lot of people are talking about how the Team Canada handled the end of the game. Did you stay right to the bitter end, Scott? Did you see them sort of waving at the crowd? And
we did, yeah. We stayed as pretty much I think all the Canadian fans did, and we kind of had their salute and their send-off. So yeah, it was disappointing, but it was nice. It was a nice final opportunity for us to say thank you to them and them to say thank you to us.
What did it feel like to be there with all those Canadian fans down south?
It was awesome. We met so many great Canadians from across the country. We did like the march with thousands of Canadians before in the parking lots, having a little pregame together, getting to just meet people from all over. It was a fantastic experience before the game, during the game, after the game. It was just ultimately just unbelievable time to see Canada come together in Houston.
Have you ever been in, we talk about the march. Take me inside that. Like, were you in hundreds of people? Was it all red, Yeah,
it was thousands of people. We just met at this parking lot. That was about a 20-minute walk to the stadium, and then it's kind of like a pregame tailgate where it just kind of mixed and mingled. It was crazy hot, so we were underneath the parkade for a while, and once we started marching, we had a police escort, and we just chanted all the way into the stadium, and it was just a really cool experience to come together and get the atmosphere going before we got in.
What a memory to have. What were you chanting? Was it just Canada, or what were you chanting?
Yeah, there were some songs and some chants that we've been, or I guess Team Canada and the Voyageurs came up with together, and then so there was a whole kind of set list. And then some people knew them, some people didn't, but they were easy to catch the vibe as you were going in. And yeah, it was just different people led them, and everybody picked it up as we went in. And I'd say it was about a 20-minute walk, but it took a little bit longer just because there were so many of us.
Yeah.
It's a really cool experience.
How's your singing voice this morning? You want to give us an example?
I'm tired. I'm very tired. We got in. We had some delays, so we got in at 2 a.m. on Saturday, and we left at 5 a.m. on Sunday. So
you the we is you, and I understand your brother Patrick. What was it like to share this with your brother? I understand it was a bit of a shared dream.
It was, yeah. Well, we've grown up in the soccer community our whole lives and followed Team Canada from the very tough defeats, and then once we had this opportunity, when not only were they in the round of 16, but had an opportunity to win, you never know when you'll get that chance again. And to experience that with him, it's a memory that we'll have together, not only the pregame, but the tournament leading up to it, the march, the game itself afterwards. something that we didn't want to miss the opportunity. And it was a lot easier to get tickets, honestly, to the game in Houston than it was to the Canadian games, just because there's such a great atmosphere around the team. So once the opportunity came, we jumped on it.
Off you went. So I know that it's hard to play, armchair coach afterward, but I know that sitting on some of the couches here across Winnipeg, those of us that were watching it on television, there was sort of a question about Alphonso Davies. We've now learned he was too injured to go in, we've been told. But what did it feel like in the crowd? Did you find yourself waiting for him to go in and then he never was subbed in?
We did, yeah, we did. We were definitely hoping he'd get in, especially since he got in the last match for 15 minutes. So we were waiting, and then I think once we realized that he hadn't come in after the hydration break in the second half there when we were down 1-0, you kind of knew that he probably wasn't available. So as former competitive athletes ourselves and still playing to this day, hard to put ourselves in his shoes. Obviously disappointing, but he didn't feel like he was able to go. You have to trust that he knows his body the best. But it's disappointing from a fan standpoint because you think down 1-0, even if you can give us 80%, you think that might be what we need because we're just missing that final quality piece that a lot of the other teams have. So disappointing for sure. I'm sure probably nobody's more disappointed than himself, but frustrating as a fan base for sure.
Yeah, what a showing though for Team Canada. Just last, how do you hope this might, you're talking about being part of the soccer community yourself. How do you hope this might grow the sport in this country and in our province in Manitoba?
Yeah, I think it's just only going to help grow. People believe that now not only can they play maybe at a college level or maybe an international level, but they can represent our country, and it just keeps building to show that if you work hard and you buy in, like there's an opportunity to just keep growing and growing. And now that we see our Canadian boys play against some of the best, like idolized soccer players around the whole world, why not us? Why not you? So give it a shot and go for it.
Thanks so much for your time this Monday morning. And I'm going to ask, but you don't have to weigh in. Are you switching allegiances to another country, or are you still sort of going to just hang back and
I'm just gonna enjoy the rest of the soccer, watch some of these. There's some top players still left battling it out, and just kind of see how it plays out, and look forward to following Canada in their next qualifying campaign. And then just enjoy the experience.
All right, Scott, you take care.
Thank you.
Scott Smoke talking about coming back from Houston this weekend. He and his brother were there to watch Team Canada in their final game at the FIFA World Cup. It is coming up to 8:30. Big thanks for folks that worked on our program today. Chloe Friesen, Sophia Peralta-Barone, associate producers, as well as Emily Enns. Reporters from our I-team, Kristen Annabelle, and reporter CBC's Bartley Kivas, senior reporter. Also, Nellie Gonzalez, Leif Larson, who are producers in our unit. Our live team, Abby Adiemi, Darren Marash, and Corey Funk. And then from our news department, Heather Wells, Megan Ketchison, and Joni Nicolo. So big thanks to everybody who worked on the program today. We'll have the very latest on the flood situation with our news department coming up at 8:30 in a few minutes from now. So stay tuned. Corey Funk has actually popped in, though, because there's something developing in traffic.
Yes, got a call from Daniel. He says the lights are flashing at Sargent and Balmoral right now. So treat that as a four-way stop. He says it's extra chaotic and backed up because just east of that intersection on Sargent, there's also the road's closed for construction. So pretty slow going around that area of the West End. And keep in mind, also just got a call from Kathy not too long ago. The lights at Salter and Dufferin were also flashing red and pretty backed up, particularly southbound Salter as well this morning. That's right at the bridge there. Other than that, if you're seeing anything else, of course, there's that flooding northwest of Riding Mountain National Park, right around Duck Mountain, all around the park there and in the park, Swan River, and of course, Roblin area as well. If you see anything else, though, if you're walking, bike, and driving, give me a call on the CBC commuter line. That number 204-788-3093.
All right, thanks, Corey.
Thank you.
Well, we are looking for you to call us or to email us at win@cbc.ca with your musical memory. Could be from a festival, something else, you singing, you watching someone sing. What's your musical memory? Give us one and you can have a chance to win weekend passes to the Salamander Music Festival in Brandon coming up mid-July. And good luck. We'll draw a winner from the random entries by the end of the week. You can call 788-3205, 788-3205, or win@cbc.ca. And CBC Manitoba, a proud partner with the Salamander Music Festival in Westman this year. So good luck. Get those memories and we'll play some some calls and read some of your emails throughout the week. Right now, it's time for your CBC News from Manitoba.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. A wet Winnipeg. It's coming down right now. 21 is where we're at 8:30. We're expecting a mix of sun and clouds once this rain moves out, and a high today of 27. Sioux Valley Dakota Nation has declared a state of emergency as floodwaters rise. Leadership in that Western Manitoba First Nation made the call on Saturday. Chief Jennifer Bone says nearly 190 residents have been told to get ready in case of evacuation, and some of their homes were being sandbagged over the weekend.
At this time, there's no evacuation order in place. It's just about, preparedness, and if conditions happen to change rapidly, our community members will receive official information immediately.
Now, the state of emergency continues in the city of Brandon, but the mayor is confident they're doing all they can to prevent major flooding. Mayor Jeff Fawcett says declaring the state of emergency allows them to go and top up the city's dikes.
We're in a bit better spot than historically because, for one thing, we're not building a dike during a flood, which is what we did in 2011. It came just maybe a little bit faster in 2014. So we know what we need to do for prep. We know how to get things ready. And as long as it sort of stays within where it's saying it's going to be, we have a lot of confidence.
Fawcett says today they will concentrate on topping up dikes on the western and eastern edges of the city to make sure there's at least 2 feet of extra distance between the expected level of the river and the top of the dike. The Assiniboine River in Brandon is expected to peak on July 12th. Manitoba is spending more money on its Washington trade office than the NDP government previously disclosed. The Canoe government pegged the annual budget for the office at $800,000 in 2025. Documents obtained by CBC News show the province has allocated $1 million a year. A spokesperson for the Premier says that is just contingency. There's no specific line item in Manitoba's budget for the office. Duff Conacher is the co-founder of Ottawa's Democracy Watch.
Government budgets often do not provide enough detail for the public to be judging very specific programs or initiatives. That should always be a concern by the public because the devil is in the details, and that's where the waste is found.
Manitoba's trade rep to Washington, Richard Madden, has declined comment. 2 senior health executives earned close to $2 million last year, despite having only worked for 1 month. Records show Lynette Siragusa earned nearly $1 million in 2025 as the former CEO of Shared Health before she was replaced. Mike Nader, who briefly headed up the Winnipeg Regional Health Authority, earned more than $725,000. Both had been appointed to their roles by the previous PC government. Sean MacDonald at the Asper School of Business at the University of Manitoba says it is common practice in government.
From the government perspective, I am sure that they want their own people that are philosophically and especially strategically aligned with whatever their new objectives are.
McDonald says the high payments are almost certainly buyouts of the former CEO's contracts. In a statement, the province says the payouts include salary, vacation, and severance. People flocked to Corden Avenue yesterday as a stretch of that street swapped cars for people. It was the first summer Sunday where a 4-block stretch was closed to vehicles and open to foot traffic. At Tommy's Pizza, owner Thomas Schneider says they sold 160 slices as of late afternoon, a record.
It's just nice to see people finally walking. Like, you don't really, it's slowed down a lot. When I grew up, Corden was the place to be. You'd see people walking all the time, and this is the most foot traffic I've seen all year.
4 blocks of the street are closed from Daly to Lilac. Open Corridon runs every Sunday until September 6th. And it was a game that saw 2-star quarterbacks leave injured. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers edged the Hamilton Tiger Cats 14-13 in Hamilton last night. Coach Mike O'Shea says that game had a cost.
2 premier starting quarterbacks going down in the same game is not good for the league. So hopefully both guys make a speedy recovery. I don't know anything about either one right now, but Bo was on a heater, and the league needs that. Obviously, points are up, and obviously we believe Zach's the best quarterback in the league. So when you lose that, the game ends up probably the lowest scoring game this season.
The Bombers next play Friday back in Winnipeg, hosting the Argos. You can find the latest news throughout the day. All you have to do is head to cbc.ca/Manitoba.
All right, thanks for the morning, Heather.
Thank you.
Heather Wells from our news department. And now with a last look at your morning commute, Corey is still here.
Balmoral and Sargent, those lights are flashing red right now, says Daniel, and also causing some chaos because just east of that on Sargent, there is some construction going on, which has the road closed there. So just heads up there. Very slow going around Balmoral and Sargent. Also, lights flashing red, Salter and Dufferin as well. Lights backed up quite a few blocks there on southbound Salter this morning, says Kathy.
So are you a Folk Fest fan out there? You ready to go and start camping? Maybe you've got a particularly elaborate setup. It is a week where we start looking for those super excited folkies. Give us a call if you've got something you think that would be fun to do a story on. 788-3205. And now a last look at our wet weather with Abby.
Yeah, wet in the city. We're looking at this severe thunderstorm watch still active for southern Manitoba, while up north we see air quality warnings in place for Tuduli Lake and the Lynn Lake area. But for Winnipeg, we're closing shop at 21 with rain outside. We head to 27. It's going to feel like 35 today.
All right. Teachers, students, roll back over and stay in bed. It's officially summer, folks. First full week of July. Enjoy the rest of your Monday, even though it's wet out there. And we got you covered tomorrow with another edition of Information Radio. Near next local programming, though, up at noon and between 3 and 6 on Up to Speed. I'm Marcy Marcusa. Take care. The Current's next.